Hey, I'm Todd Knock, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Wow, you must be excited.
I am excited.
It sounds it.
A lot to be excited about.
You do know who's with us.
Comics, we got a great guest.
Well, wait. I was just, you know who's with us this week, right?
Yes.
Wow. Are you? No, you're not desperate. You just love him, as do I.
know.
Yeah. I think we all do at this point.
Well, we do. Jason doesn't, but we do.
He does too.
What does he know? He's a robot.
Jason does have people saying we love him so much. What do you think that's about?
He can't open up his feelings. He's insecure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Overcompensates with the house and everything, you know.
Yeah, the cushions. Hey, everybody. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 865, Staying Alive. And I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. I am David A. Price.
And
Fleecs. You just left me wide open there.
No, not a showman. Not a showman. And we have a guest this week. What? It's really not a guest. We say this every time. Tony's back. Tony Fleecs is back with us. He's been here a gazillion times, and it's always a hoot and a whole bunch of fun to talk comics with our brother. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Fleecs.
Hey, gang. Happy to be here. Been too long. I went to Comic-Con in between the last time we spoke.
You did go. We're going to hear about that, I hope.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, but first, we have to remind everybody who made this possible. It is cheapgraphicnovels.com. It's right there in the name, everybody. All you need to know, cheapgraphicnovels.com. If you're looking for trade paperbacks, collections, manga, omniboo, anything with a spine, basically, which... Okay, you can go to cheapgraphicnovels.com and get it at a whack discount. What we have here, I was just firing it up and I was looking at what they have for sale. You can get, this is crazy, the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Omnibus hardcover for 40% off. 40% off. It's only going to cost you $59.99. And you know me, any opportunity I can get to pump the work of my boo, Freddie Williams III, I will do it. He did most, if not all, of the work in this collection, and it is awesome. Awesome. There's also Batman One Bad Day Bane hardcover for $10.79. That again, 40% off. The Clayface one is the same price. Like what? That's amazing. cheapgraphicnovels.com.
That is a neat little set because it comes with the slipcase. Comes with One Bad Day, Riddler, and The Killing Joke. And what I like about this version of The Killing Joke, they actually went back to the original coloring.
Ooh. Steve Oliff?
No. Oh, crap. Maybe
Brian Bolland did it up?
No, Bolland redid it the last time they released it. And I was happy to see... that there's a blurb on the back of the slipcase. But the slipcase is neat because it comes with two, so you get started. And then as the additional ones come out, the Clayface, the Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, so on and so forth, you just, I like it when they're not, obviously it's a business, but I mean, at least they kind of get you started. I like the idea of a slipcase, but then again, just get you started with it. And, you know, here's some, so you can keep adding to it, and as opposed to we put out all these hardcovers and someone had the bright idea 8 months later to come out with a slipcase for it and everything mismatched, this is a neat little setup.
Who else did that?
Who else did the slipcase?
Mm-hmm. And the buy one get the slipcase and you buy
it was it wasn't all that long ago either.
Yeah, it was Frank Miller with DK3.
Yes, that's right. Yes, with the larger size, with the mini comics that were included in those hardcovers. That's right. Yeah, that's how I got it. Yeah.
The only thing that sucks.
That's true.
The only thing that sucks is if you just want that first volume. Like if someone worked on the first volume and you love them, and you're just like, I'm not really sure about the other ones, and you got a slipcase, right?
Right.
You can eBay it, whatever.
Yeah. Use it for other things.
Right.
You know, that is the Barry Windsor Smith Storyteller slipcase, and it still has a little gap in it because they never finished better.
Yeah, mine too. I love that slipcase.
Oh, it's incredible. What a dream.
Yep. So there you go.
There you go.
CheapGraphicNovels.com.
Done.
So you order from them, and then when you get your order in, then you send an email and you say, "Hey, I heard about you on 11 O'Clock Comics," and then they give you free shipping on your second order. That's how it works.
You are amazing. That's exactly how it works.
It's like he listens to the show or something.
Complicated setup, but I see how it would work. Get people in, because your first order comes in, it's all set up. They put the shipping on it. They're ready to go, and then they say, "Hey, it's me from 11 o'clock," and then Max says, "I'll ship it on out to you for free shipping this next time."
Yeah.
So then you're basically guaranteeing you're getting 2 orders out of these people. Which, why wouldn't you at those prices?
Right. And free shipping. No one offers free shipping these days. Unless you order like an ungodly amount of stuff, free shipping over $250. Like, what? All I want is this one book. But yeah, free shipping's a great deal. And I've been asking Max like every month, I'm like, "Yeah, we good?" He's like, "No, yeah, we're good." So I'm like, "Okay, must be working." Awesome. Why wouldn't it? Because we're
shipping as well. That Max, he doesn't mess around.
No,
he's a fastidious nerd when it comes to corners and ticks and all that stuff. He's not going to let your stuff get messed up.
It's true. I've ordered some Nick and Dent from CGN, and I was like, "Where the dent at? Like, I don't see it. There's no dent on this thing." Oh, wait a minute. My electron microscope has revealed a tiny little imperfection in the corner. Like, you can't even see it. Whatever. And I'm not that picayune with my hardcovers anyway. But regardless, the book it was unblemished to my eyes. So there you go. I am drinking. We thought, I thought Tony's here. What the hell? I'm finishing off the Redhead from Franklin Hill Vineyards, a red wine with natural flavor. What does that even mean? Raise your glass to the rare, the beautiful, the bold, the curious. It's Redhead. Red blend. Pretty good. Like it. It will be gone. Take it away.
What you drinking, Tony?
Oh, I'm having a little redhead of my own over here because I have a Diet Coke from Wendy's.
Wow, living on the edge.
Fountain Diet Coke over here. It doesn't really make sense because if I'm eating a Wendy's, it's not healthy, but I always like that Diet Coke. It goes with everything. And that's where I'm at.
It is relatively healthy if you get the chili, because that's on the Weight Watchers.
Tell you what, I didn't get that.
I love their chili, especially if you put about 6 packets of hot sauce in it. It's really good.
Hot sauce is on the Weight Watchers too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they don't do beans in their chili, right? At Wendy's?
No, it's just
good.
It's just chunks of meat and juice.
Good. Perfect. Yeah. John Higgins was the name I was thinking of. That's
John Higgins.
I was thinking John, and I knew it was an H, but I'm like, it's not John Hollingsworth. What the fuck am I? So, but there you go. John Higgins was features the coloring from the original printing.
John Higgins, World Without End.
Yes.
Paperback, some of that is out of print at the moment.
What the fuck?
That's perfect.
That's awesome.
Oh, shit.
He's checking his mail.
Oh, man. That should be the next book of the month.
Whenever we... What, World Without End?
Yeah.
Jason will have a fit.
Why?
He won't take it. He won't.
Well, we got to think of something. I'll post the form tomorrow, but we'll pick something.
Was that even suggested by the patrons?
I don't think so.
We got to pull something from the list. Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
Just had a book of the month. Was it just like last week?
Yes.
Yeah, say I love when you review a book and you're like, I think everyone feels this way. You want to kill yourself. You hate your life and your job. Every day you wake up and it's a complete misery. Yep. That was your review of that book. You're like, I think everyone would agree with me that if you went on it, if you had a chance to leave your life behind, you obviously would leave it completely behind and never return.
There are days, I'm sure, where everyone on the planet feels that way to some extent, right? Maybe not to the ends that are revealed in the book, and I wasn't suggesting that either. But a change would be awesome now and then.
I love listening to that episode because you were just like, I never would have came back, and Jason was just like, that's like, he was like, I never would have left. I would have just, count sheep.
Yeah, well, there is the difference between Jason and myself. I'm a man of adventure, and he's a couch potato.
Happy.
Yeah. Oh, I should say a Peloton potato.
I was just going to say, thank you very much.
Wendy's at all.
Say it again? What was that?
I said he's not getting Wendy's at all.
No. He doesn't even look at it because he may get a calorie transfer just by looking at the sign.
Not a carb.
Yeah. God bless him. He'll be back.
Actually, well, he did carbo load for his the recent ride. He did the benefit ride.
Well, sure, because he wanted to finish.
Right? Yeah. He loaded up on muffins and everything like that. So, but he did 500 miles. So I'm proud of him. And it was a benefit.
What is that transfer? How's that transfer to real running? Is that like a 5K or something? Like, I'm being facetious, but
500 miles on the bike.
Yeah, it doesn't transfer like. So if you biked 500 miles, if you actually put foot to pavement, what's the translation? Right?
500 miles. Right?
No, it's not. It's not equal.
Oh, because you're thinking of the terrain and everything?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, obviously, you can adjust it so that, it feels as if like you're going uphill or so just like a treadmill. But I mean, I get what you're saying, Vince, but 500 miles is still 500 miles.
Oh, for hell yeah.
But
it's impressive.
But as far as the wear and tear on your body, like obviously if you're outside in the elements on the concrete, going over hills and valleys.
You get that shock every time your heel hits the pavement. It's a lot of wear and tear on the physique, where smartly, you're on a bike, it's all muscle, right? I don't know how it works. But it's interesting to me. I would like to at least test drive a Peloton.
Well, I know a guy who has one.
You can in October.
Yeah.
There you go.
I am enjoying a Empress gin with some tonic. So it's got a nice little sapphire-like hue with this big-ass cube in the glass.
Nice. Let's talk about comics, but
Let's do it.
Yeah, before we do, I have been an absolute shithead and have not thanked some amazing people for various things that they've done for me. So I would like to thank Mitchell, Anthony G., and David Milburn for being just awesome, awesome individuals. And that's it. I forget these things.
I know, yeah. There are days where I write it down, and then there are days when I don't. Actually, I have a box right next to me from Caleb, so let me thank him. Thank you, Caleb.
He's a boo. Love that man.
He's a boo.
Yeah. So Tony,
yes,
Mr. Fleece here, was nice enough to slip 2 preview comics under our door.
That's true.
And I want to talk about them because you lit up my damn world with these things.
Well, good. That's very nice to hear. What do you want to talk about first?
Come on, you know me.
You know what he wants to talk
I'm
about.
excited. I want to talk about Army of Darkness Forever, number 1. For those of you playing at home, it's written by this guy, Fleece, with art by Justin Greenwood, color art by Brad Simpson, and Troy Peteri on letters. It's coming out through Dynamite, of course. Dynamite. What's the date that this thing's coming out?
October in the
Oh, wow.
I think, yeah.
What was the date again?
I don't know what day. It's sometime in October.
Okay. A little bit of backstory for those who aren't Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Sam Raimi fans. Army of Darkness had an ending that was very downbeat, and I guess in the previews didn't do well. or at least not as well as Sam wanted it to do. So he swapped the ending.
No, it wasn't Sam.
It wasn't Sam?
Dino De Laurentiis. So De Laurentiis got Evil Dead 3. He was producing it, but he didn't know what the point was. That's why it's not called Evil Dead 3 or Medieval Dead. It's because this guy was just hey, we got a Brewster Campbell, we'll do the thing.
Wow. It's uncanny.
Great impression.
It's really good.
I thought he was here with us.
Thanks. But in this case, I feel like his instincts were a little bit off. And in this case, when they showed up with the director's cut ending, he was just well, we don't want, you want to see the hero win in the end. And so then they reshot it. Go on. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I'm glad you interrupted me because I actually thought it was Sam. But now I know it's Dino. It makes a whole lot more sense.
Right.
The man responsible for creating a life-size King Kong maquette. Great,
exactly.
Great. Money well spent there, Dino.
October 11th, by the way.
There it is.
So the original ending was was excised in favor of an ending where Ash goes back to his own time without calamity and is essentially the hero. Kills the Deadite, gets the girl, curtain. And I've always had a problem with that ending because Ash's worst enemy is himself, right? He has a very short attention span. He is very self-absorbed and headstrong and doesn't follow the script, even when specifically told, this is what you have to do. Yeah, I got this. Well, that's exactly what happened because one of Arthur's magicians, it wasn't Merlin, was it?
No, they just called him the Wise Man.
Yeah, the Wise Man. For all intents and purposes, it was Merlin. Gives him a potion. And he says, take 6 and only 6 drops of this, and you will slumber until you get to your time, and you'll wake up and you'll be back home and within your time period. So, but Ash gets distracted and fucks up and takes more than 6 and ends up, and this is the beautiful ending, the proper ending to Army of Darkness, and ends up in a dystopian future. The world's a mess. Robots, the whole 9 yards. And I thought that ending was brilliant and is very much more in character than the Dino De Laurentiis ending. I mean, without knowing that other, I forget when I found out that there was an alternate ending. It must have been maybe the Laserdisc or something. We're going back a while on this.
Yeah, for me.
When I found out there was another ending, I was like, holy shit, this is a million times better. And so I've always had a problem. I love the movie. I think the movie's phenomenal, as are all the movies in the series, all 3 of them. But bone of contention with that Dino ending. But Mr. Fleecs is here to rectify that situation because Army of Darkness Forever continues the original, far better ending.
Yeah. That's correct.
Yes, it does. And I like the way you get everybody up to speed. The Necronomicon, Ex Mortis. There's even lines directly from the movie in the book, which was great. And so what happens is, and I don't want to spill too much of the beans because the absolute overwhelming joy of this book is the last bunch of pages. And I think the less we say about that, the better. So you get Ash going to 2093. No, the old Charlton Heston, you fuckers. And then we go back to 1300. This is cool. And we see Sheila, Ash's love interest from the movie. And she's fighting Deadites, and something happens, and another thing happens, and I don't want to say too much, but then the narrative jumps to 1993, and I was like, "What is happening here?" And which leads to the brilliant That's a very specific word because I think it is a brilliant flourish by Mr. Fleecs and company. I called him Frank Darabont. And if you don't,
thanks for that.
No, well, if you don't know what that means, Frank Darabont is one of the very few people, in my estimation, that ever took an original piece of an original creation and made it better. Like The Mist. I think Darabont's ending, because he was screenwriter on that. Darabont as well as director. Darabont's ending to The Mist is way better than Stephen King's ending. It just it's a truth, right? Tony did that with this book, and you guys you have to read it. It's just insane. I don't want to use the David Price indicator for how good a comic is, but I was grinning and smiling like an asshole on this book. Like so much so I had to text Tony. It was late last night, and I texted him. I had to text him. I don't do that. I don't communicate with people. But yeah. I just thought, holy crap! Now, obviously, you love the source material.
Yes. I love the 3 movies. I love the remake. I love everything Evil Dead, basically. Like, I love the show, all of it. And so this was a real exciting proposition for me. And when they asked me about it, I said, have you ever done, or has anybody ever tried to do a sequel to the original ending? And they said no. And I was shocked, but also delighted, because as soon as they said no, I sort of started coming up with, like, oh, this is exactly what I would do. You know, like, here's the way to do this. And the way that you're describing the narrative is, I basically said, like, all right, well, I'm going to keep the original ending, and then I want to find a way to make everything work. The way the license works is we can only use Army of Darkness stuff, because the way the films came out, all the rights for all these movies are at different places. So I can use Army of Darkness, and I can use the Evil Dead 2 stuff that's in the flashback in Army of Darkness.
Right.
Like that sort of gets like grandfathered in. But I wanted to try and make everything fit, you know, where even though we can't use like Ash versus Evil Dead stuff or Evil Dead 2 or Remake or Evil Dead Rise stuff, like I want it to all fit in, just even though you can't see where it connects, you know that, like, oh, this would fit in over there. But the real inspiration for it was, I was thinking about Jason Aaron's Thor, and how he did that first Thor run that he did, God of Thunder, was young Thor, Avenger Thor, and then Thor at the end of the world. So I thought, like, all right, well, what if I did, you know, Ash at the end of the world, and then 1300s follows Sheila, and then what we do at the end, where we're following a different character, and then just follow those 3 different timelines, and then eventually they'll all start to sort of like influence each other and interact with each other.
So this is an ongoing?
It's it's planned. It's outlined for 12 issues. We're definitely doing 6 issues, and then assuming that it doesn't sell horribly, we'll do the whole 12. It's I'm kind of curious about it myself right now. What's going on? That's not
the hell.
Is somebody calling in?
No.
They're from inside the house. But...
Yeah, it's 12. It's planned out for. Oh my! It's this.
Your pants on?
For the third time? Is this the UAPs?
Don't get me started.
I know. Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3. It's planned out for 12 issues. And assuming that it doesn't sell horribly, we'll do all 12. If not, it's going to be 6 issues with the craziest cliffhanger that you've ever seen. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that first issue is crazy. Are you talking about there's a crazy cliffhanger at the end of the 12th issue?
At the end of 6.
Oh.
12, like, when we get to the end of 12, it's a real satisfying ending that I think people will dig. And, like, my my dream for this is that, they put it out in the hardcover and you can sit it on the shelf next to your DVDs and your Blu-rays, and you go like, this fits in right here in the Evil Dead saga.
Well, that's what I was saying to Jason today, that I doubt that anybody's going to throw more money at Sam to make another Evil Dead Army of Darkness.
Well, in this story specifically, like, he's more interested in new talent. Like, he's doing these remakes and stuff.
Yeah.
He likes doing that stuff. Bruce is getting too old for it.
Exactly.
And, like, he likes producing these new things and being involved with it that way. They can never do this story because it takes, unless they did full, like, Marvel de-aging. But, like, we've seen the beginning of it, and it was 30 years ago. And they've already told the story of what Ash was next in the TV show.
Yes. Yeah. But I said, like Buffy, it would be really cool if you got to continue the storyline in the comics.
Yeah.
And that
is a real good comparison, because I do count that Buffy season 8 as like the actual next chapter of Buffy.
Well, yeah. I mean, most fans of the show do, right?
Yeah.
It came right from the source.
The only difference is, I'm not I'm not Sam Raimi or Rob Tappert. But I feel like their spirit lives in me.
I think so too. I think you've thought about this a lot.
I definitely have, and I'm treating it like I would treat one of my own. Like, I haven't figured out yet what the switch is you're supposed to switch over when you're doing, licensed, when you're just doing a job rather than doing a creator-owned book. So I'm treating this as if it's my own, project. And the editor, working with the editor, has been sort of on board with that too. Like, who should we get for the color? Should we get to draw this? All that stuff. Like, I've been pretty involved in all that stuff.
Well, I think that's a piss poor way to approach a project. Like, I don't own this. This isn't my stuff, but so I'm gonna lowball it and just get it done. Like, that's not you.
Right. Well, and I'm not like established enough yet that I feel like I could take I could shit one out and have people come back for the next book.
Yeah,
I'm still operating under that auspice where I have to do it correctly every time.
You got the magic touch lately. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm ecstatic to see it happening, but it seems like everything you touch is really good.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm. Like, I have a level of confidence, and I sort of am trusting my decisions lately. And I think a lot of that comes from like having that one real big success, but also just sort of like, it was funny, like walking around Comic-Con this year and like taking meetings with people and talking to people and stuff. I don't know if I'm sort of cocky, but combined with my normal self-effacing whatever, it's a weird combination, because I'm just like, well, I suck. But this motherfucker better not think I suck, because otherwise he's a big idiot.
Well, you're lying to yourself. You don't.
Seriously, yeah.
But you know how it is. You know how
right.
Your brains are all mushed up and just awful.
Yeah, it's just fear.
Yeah.
Fear's the mind killer.
I have less fear right now than I had, say, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So, and it's definitely freeing creatively to trust your instincts, like I've been doing recently. So we'll see.
And Greenwood did a great job on the art.
He did. Yeah.
I think it works really well. Again, I have a problem with a lot of Evil Dead Army of Darkness related comics, particularly the John Bolton one.
Yeah.
Because I think it's far too realistic, and he used a lot of reference in it. I mean, you can and can't blame the guy. I'm sure he used what he had, and he approached it with the methodology he always employs. But I have a problem with a lot of John Bolton's work, because it always looks referencey and stiff to me. But this, I think, is loose and not cartoony, but it's very expressive and animated, and I think that fits the Army of Darkness aesthetic perfectly, because Army of Darkness was a cartoony movie, especially the violence. The violence is straight out of cartoons. So I think
I agree, and that's a thing that we're trying to do a little bit more. Like, I'm sneaking in a lot of violence in this thing, because that is one of my drawbacks with the movie is I was just like, it's like I love it, but I wish it was disgusting. Like I just wish that it was 10 times gorier. And definitely when they're doing these new ones and the remakes and the TV show and stuff, that they obviously saw like that's our lane. And so like Ash vs. Evil Dead or the remakes are just like full on disgusting. And
Right.
so we're trying to slip a little more gore into this, even though the licensor is like, we like to try and keep it at around like a, PG-13, hard PG-13. I'm like, okay. And then I'll just be like, all right, in this one, so we slice him open and then they're pulling the guts out and she's poking his eyeballs,
Yeah.
That stuff's a lot of fun to write. But also the way that Justin delineates it, it does have like that charming, I think it's okay to call it cartoony. I would call Justin a cartoonist.
Cool.
But yeah, it's like it's disgusting, but it has a lot of charm.
Yeah, I was happy with the violence.
Yeah,
You guys aren't pulling any punches.
Yeah.
But there's one scene that really, in Army of Darkness, the movie, that really boggles my mind. Because as you said, it doesn't go there with the violence. And up until then, there was never any nudity in in the Evil Dead movies. It was hinted at with the tree rape, right?
Yeah.
You thought you saw more than you did because Raimi's a great filmmaker and he can mesmerize you. But that one scene where Bad Ash is on the throne and they drag the naked slave girls across the screen, I was like, where's this coming from?
I bet that's Dino as well.
I would think, because if you look at the resolution of that scene, it almost looks like it was filmed on a different stock at a different time than the other stuff in the movie. Yeah. And they just kind of like spliced it in because there's no precedent to that. Not that there has to be, but it just felt out of place. Like I didn't mind seeing the naked slave girl, but it just because then he doesn't do anything with the slave girls. He's dead. He's a deadite. Like what's he gonna? I don't know. But yeah, it's a wonderfully strange movie. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah,
it has it.
Works better in context, I think, than out of context. Like, as a part of that trilogy or as a part of that whole saga, like, it works very well. And the reason I love that ending too is because the ending of Evil Dead 2 was so crazy that then you have to raise the stakes with the ending of Evil Dead 3, right? Like the end of Evil Dead, just out of nowhere, they throw this guy back to the Middle Ages in like a cabin in the woods horror movie, and so like that's wild. That's super wild. And the original ending of this, where they throw him 100 years into the future, the post-apocalypse, like that's awesome. Like that's really raising the stakes, and it's like a ton of fun figuring out like, well, all right, what's that future look like? What happened? Like how did they blow up the world? And we're gonna learn all that stuff.
Nice. Well, I think the future ending works really well because it's conceptually the same thing as Evil Dead 2 ending, only it's the antithesis, right? You had the medieval times. Oh, now we're going to the future. He's still flung far out of his time frame. One is archaic and one is advanced, even though it's apocalyptic. So it makes conceptual sense. I thought the ending was amazing. And I was like, all right, Ash's going to fight robots. Like, okay, that's cool. Let's see him do it. So where do you stand? Everyone always picks a side. Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2? I'm
an Evil Dead. I like my horror movies a little more horrifying. I was never a Three Stooges guy, and so like that part of the Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness stuff is the part that is most lost on me. Like I don't hate it, but it's just like, all right, I'm okay if I have to go to the bathroom during this part or whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of saddened that part of Evil Dead 2 has taken such a strong hold over the franchise. What with the little people in Army of Darkness, and there's a lot of Stooge-ish humor in Ash versus Evil Dead. I'm with you. I love the first movie.
Yeah, agreed.
There's something within those frames that you can't quantify. I can't put a name to it or tell you specifically why it speaks to me, but there is a murky, dark, icky evil in that first movie.
Well, and also it was cheap and dirty, but also innovative, where Sam Raimi wasn't just making shots and choices that to approximate what people that had more of a budget would do. He was doing stuff that people that had a budget would never even think of, like the same way that like Robert Rodriguez would, 10 years after that. Like he was making a whole different kind of thing, but in the first one, because I think they were sort of being like, clearly they were being tentative, right? Like he wasn't going full Raimi yet, and so they were just like, all right, well, let's just make it scary. And then once they sort of were themselves feeling their own confidence, they came back and they're like, all right, well, let's show them what we're really about. And what they're about is they are also goofballs. Yeah. But yeah, that first one, it just feels like grimy, but also like just the idea of that, that shot where the wind, like you're in the POV of the evil spirit possessing somebody, is so cool. Yep. And just coming from out of the forest, out of nowhere, busting through doors, and it's great. And it's all practical. Like there's even stop motion animation in the first one. I mean, there's some in the second with the headless dance, but in the first one, like when the Deadites are melting, that's all stop motion animation. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Suffice to say, though, without the participation of Bruce Campbell, we may not even be talking about these movies today. Oh, for sure. He's the magic sauce in all of the films. So much so that like the level of charisma that he had, I can't tell you the name of any other man in any other slasher movie, horror movie, but as soon as you see one of these movies, you're like, oh, that guy Ash, he rules, Right. Like, even before he was the star of the show, the big character, just in the first one, he's just a guy. I don't know. I can't, I'm writing the comic and I can't tell you the names of everybody else in Evil Dead 1, but I know Ash for sure. Sure. Yeah. Well, they're all shemps anyway. All right. Dap, anything to add?
Not that.
Not for me.
No. I
didn't like it.
I appreciate the Evil Dead stuff. The first one I saw was Evil Dead 2. Dude I hung out with in high school, we rented it one weekend, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know if I've seen the first one all the way through. And I enjoyed the hell out of Ash versus Evil Dead, the show. But no, I think I'm not a big horror guy, but I do love Bruce Campbell, and I appreciate the way the story is approached with the horror, with the comedy, with so many horror movies either feel forced or just so full of make believe, and yeah, obviously Evil Dead isn't really based in realism, but the reactions of the characters in the movies and how they handle the situations make a lot of sense. And I find myself, I kind of want to do a rewatch now. And after reading the first issue of Forever, I kind of I'm kind of in the mood, and I may actually fire up Max this weekend and check out Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
You'll dig it. Did you like the remake?
Oh, yes. I loved it. Yeah. It had a lot of the same spirit as the OG.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I bought the freaking soundtrack from Mondo for Evil Dead, not even seeing the movie. I'm like, order. Just because it's Evil Dead related, and the production on the set, of course, it's Mondo, was amazing. So I was like, yeah, this got to be mine. Got to get this.
Yeah, I put that on sometimes when I'm writing at the remake score. That thing rules.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. All right, so I'm just going to shut up and take a back seat to you, because the other book that you sent us is a love letter. And who better to tell you the details of the story involving that love letter than the person that wrote the damn thing? So it's called Local Man Gold. And of course it was created in collaboration with Tony's boo, Tim Seeley.
His other boo.
His work boo.
There you go.
Yeah. But if you don't know what this is, I think you need to be a certain age to get in on the concept, because if you're under 25, you're going to have to do a little bit of research for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cast in the Deathmate mold.
Or just go back and listen to the episode that Tony was on where we discussed Deathmate.
Or do that.
I thought about that when I was getting ready to come on today. That probably was an inspiration for this, just doing that reread.
Aww.
Us having that argument about it. Because Local Man Gold is... First of all, FOC's on Monday. So if you're listening to this, call your shop immediately and tell them you wanted to order you a Local Man Gold. It's if you didn't read Local Man yet, it's fine. It's a perfect jumping on point. There's a little previously on. It's a self-contained one-shot issue, but it is definitely a Deathmate. Like, it's just Tim and I were wrapping up the first arc and we were figuring out what the second arc was, and I texted him one day and I said, hey, what if we did a Deathmate where just Local Man is summoned to the police station and they have his 1990s superhero version of himself there, tossed out of time, and they have to go on an adventure together. And it's sort of fun because it's like the premise of our book is this sort of like midlife crisis, like somebody dealing with the things they did in the past and who they were, and sort of like wishing they had done things differently, and then having him just be faced with that fucking person, and then have the person, you know, like his young self looking at what he turned into and just going like, oh, Jesus, is this what happens too? So that was sort of the premise of this book, is let's do a big old Image Comics crossover, but have it just be about, you know, that very personal, feeling of, I wish I would have done things differently, and what would my younger self think of me if they saw, you know, what I turned into.
Nice. See, like our book of the month last episode, Night Fever, everybody can get behind this. This is a feeling that most people have. Like, man, if my younger self could see me now, they probably wouldn't even recognize me.
Yeah.
As being them.
In this one for sure, because he's wearing a mask as well.
Well, but is it okay to reveal the person or the creature entity pulling the strings behind all this?
We could talk about all of it up until the part that I said we can't talk about.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was really smart to use Phantoma as the big bad. Number one, public domain.
Yeah.
Hey-o. But I just think that whole Fletcher Hanks aesthetic, weirdo bonkers comics, like from the get-go, knowing Phantomas behind it, I'm like, this is off the rails. This dimension spanning calamity is just craziness.
And the conceptual idea behind all of that was basically just the idea of making a Deathmate. Like, Deathmate was Image Comics heroes versus Valiant heroes, and Valiant had their own characters, but then they also famously had these Silver Age characters that they had licensed, so like Solar Man of the Atom and Magnus Robot Fighter and Turok. And so we thought, like, all right, well, what could we do that's like that? And then it was just like, oh, what if we use Golden Age characters? And we could just have that, like, in the concept of this world, in the world where there was a third-gen comic in the 90s, there was also, you know, a Valiant that was doing, you know, Golden Age characters, you know. And so that's like what the conceptual thrust behind that is. But that's just like, we just need to have a bad guy chasing him around the issue as well, and that has like that's tied into the thematic thrust of the whole thing. So Phantoma's like the big bad behind the thing, but then we also meet the Flame, who's a Will Eisner, Lou Fine creation, who like got amalgamed together with Crossjack. And so in the story we have, Crossjack, the 90s superhero. We have Jack, who's like the 2023, lovable schlub trying to get his shit together. And then we have the Flame, who like up until now had been living like a merged amalgam life with this guy, knows all of his, secrets and deep dark, insecurities and all this stuff. And also like thinks that makes this world suck, so that he has to chase this guy down. He hates the world because he also hates the world because of Jack. Does that make sense?
No, it's pretty damn smart. And it's beautifully illustrated in the double page splash that I pulled from this issue that you can see on 11o'clockcomics.com. Go to the episode thread, click on it. There'll be a gallery and you can gaze in wide wonder at this splash, because you have iterations of the characters. Like you have the Flame and Crossjack and Young Crush. Like that was really smart. You didn't, well, for the less intelligent, you had to, but for perceptive readers, you really didn't have to explain it. It's like all these characters, well, they're kind of sort of all the same.
Well, we didn't, originally we weren't even going to do the flip side on this issue, because like those crossover issues, your Deathmates and your Image Uniteds, like those weren't flip books.
Right.
But then as we got deeper into the story, we were like, I guess we it would be a good idea to show this amalgam world and it coming apart and sort of set the stakes of that. So it's that 2-page spread, and then there's another page. It's a real short flip side on this issue, but it is sort of setting the table for what this adventure is.
Yeah, because you can't even tell from the preview that that's what you guys did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The PDF I sent you, it all comes in a row. But yeah, that's the flip book part.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I take offense at the Project Superhero characters being used as ne'er-do-wells. especially Madam Mask. Like, no.
That's only if you count Project Superheroes as canon, right? Like in this world, all that stuff happened before Project Superheroes.
Okay. Because like Black Terror gets shit on in this book. Sure it's like no, no. But no, it's wonderful.
That's all Seeley stuff too. Like Seeley has a real sort of George Perez urge to draw every character that ever had a costume on, and so when we're planning this thing out, and he's like, oh, and then we can have this character in it, and this character, and this character. I'm just like, bro, this is so many Golden Age characters that you're like, I'm glad you like them, because I was just like, who knows who these characters are? But
it must be extremely gratifying to be paired with someone with that kind of enthusiasm for what you're doing.
Well, for sure, and working on this one, like I wouldn't have had the idea to do this book the way we did it if we hadn't already been making the book and sort of like passing pages back and forth and collaborating like that. Because basically, this book, like this being a big Image crossover, is fun because we did it Image United style, where I draw all the modern day people, and then Tim draws all the superheroes and the Image characters and flashback Crossjack and stuff like that. And so like that only occurred to me because we had been sort of like, I would say like, Tim, hey, I need this on this page, can you draw in? Like on the first series, it was like, hey, I don't know what all this tech is supposed to look like, can you just sketch some stuff in there? And then he would just go in on Procreate file and just draw in, like, here's what the tech should look like, and then I would go and ink over that. Or there was one in issue 3, I think, of the book, Tim was like, I want to put 2 more pages in at the end. And I was like, I don't have time to draw 2 more pages at all. And he was like, well, I'll just pencil them, and then you can just ink them. And so, and that worked out great. So we had been collaborating like real closely on this, to the point where when I had the idea for this, it was like, oh, we should just be drawing on the same pages and passing them back and forth. And so like that's a real fun part of this, and sort of makes it like a unique, not wholly unique. Like there's a bunch of comics that have done this, but like they don't come out every day.
Right. And for eagle-eyed readers, there is a tip of the hat to Image United in this book. Other than the conceptual tip of the hat, there's a physical, real tip of the hat to that. Yeah.
For sure.
Now, I've spoke to Tim on a number of occasions, but I never asked him this. Maybe because I didn't want him to think I was a creep. But you can answer this. Isn't he an ass man?
Clearly.
Yeah.
Tim is but Tim, I think nobody has been sort of more liberated by like the sex positive, like like if you're not an actual creep, like where somebody like, you're not going to get Me Too'd. You're just a guy that's horny,
Yeah.
He's sort of been unleashed by this new world we're living in. I was going to call it the new like Lizzo forward world, but I guess that's not the world we're in anymore. But like the world where you're just allowed to be horny. He's really reveling in it. He's loving it.
Yes,
okay.
Because
clearly,
Erica,
how to draw asses.
Yes, he's very good at it, and they're quite pronounced.
Yes,
because like Erica and Madame Mask, they are bootylicious without being disturbingly exaggerated. Like he enhances, but he doesn't explode.
Yeah, and we're leaning into that too. Like the plan for Local Man is we do this first arc, and then this special, and then a second arc, and then after the second arc, we're doing another special, and that one's going to be like the Bad Girl special. So we're sort of like trying to hit all the parts of the '90s stuff that like nobody else fucks with, and we feel like we can say something about, and so we're going to do that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Babe Watch.
Believe me, we'll call it Babe Watch. We're not going to do a gender swap, but yeah, obviously.
Oh.
Some needs to put some respect on Babe Watch's name.
But isn't it amazing that Babe Watch month, was it, where all of the Image characters swap genders?
Yeah.
That's Marvel's playbook these days.
Rob Liefeld was a true pioneer.
Yeah, and everybody like side-eyed Babe Watch when it came out. Like, oh, geez, who thought of that? That was.
What's interesting is none of those characters stayed that way. Like I think if they did it now, like if you did that event now, first of all, they just wouldn't because it's like a little dicey. But I think it would have that wizard lady would have turned everybody back. Except one of them would now be swapped for life. And that's a cool story idea.
I think the one that should have stayed swapped was Shaft.
Yeah, Shaft Girl was sexy.
She was hot and ridiculous to call a woman Shaft. That's so silly. She'd be trying to escape the name for the rest of her existence. But and again, when the team is assembled, there's one character among them where a good amount of time is focused on her buttocks.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the team too, because that's one of the most exciting things about this book.
Well, you do it. I don't want to. Yeah.
So me and Tim, the idea was do this old Image style crossover where it's our guy in the year 2023. Coming face to face with his past self and sort of having to work with his past self who he hates. But then also along with his past self should be a bunch of other Image heroes. And then we have a reason why they're all, stuck together in this adventure. But at that point it becomes like, all right, who can we get? Because like, it's like, there's no business on the other end of this. Like, we don't make a ton of money on Local Man, so it's not like we're coming to somebody saying like, we'll give you, $5,000 if we can use Boof or something. It's basically just all handshakes, all emails. Like, would it be cool if we did this? And it works for everybody else because for this month, or for however long we're talking about Local Man Gold, we're promoting these other people's stuff as much as we're promoting our own stuff. So we reached out to a bunch of our friends, and some of them are mutual friends. Some of them are people that just Tim knows, and some of them are people that just I know, I think. But we got the team that Jack ends up on is Fire Breather by Phil Hester and Andy Kuhn, Scrap from Dynamo 5 by Jay Fairber, and your boy Mahmood Asrar,
Yes, sir.
and Boof from Boof and the Bruce Crew. Todd McFarlane,
So stupid.
original Joe Smith, and John Cleary. John Cleary is the one person I like. I know where he is. He makes statues now. He's way out of comics. But like, if we could get anybody to do a local man, anything, it would be John Cleary. I love that guy.
Dude, it's so dumb.
It really is.
Stryker from Cyberforce and codename Strike Force, and then Jim Rugg Street Angel, Jim Rugg and Brian Maruka. So like that's the team that they're on, and the conceit or the concept is that there's teams like this on this doing missions like this scattered all throughout time. So you can imagine that somewhere there's a team that's like Prophet and Savage Dragon and like Voodoo or whatever, all mixed together and on an adventure together. Spawn, and Mighty Man and Vanguard.
Super Patriot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's our group, and the fun of it was like Stryker's a total badass, and Fire Breather's super powerful. But then also like because of the way Jack feels about himself and about his younger self, to have him be on a team that's just like, oh, we got Boof here, and part of him feels like, oh, of course this is the team. It's this little girl who has a skateboard and Boof, so that was the fun of it. But also just like all of them are books that we fucking love. Like Tim had to acquaint himself with Boof when we had the idea, because I was just like, he was like, I know people at McFarlane, and before he could say Spawn, I was like, ask them if we can get Boof. And he was like, okay. And so he did. And at Comic-Con, we heard the story of them asking Todd McFarlane if it would be okay for us to use Boof, and it was beautiful, like a real heartwarming story for me, because people are always asking if they can use Spawn, and he's very protective of Spawn, and sometimes like
Really?
Spawn just popped up in Philadelphia, but that's like obviously like Gates and Alexander and he have a real relationship, and like that makes a lot of sense. But people are all day long just going like, hey, can we put Spawn in this or that? And they had just done that big month of Spawn covers where every issue had a Spawn cover on it, and I feel like he was feeling like on the one hand he was psyched about it because he's like got like Spawn's everywhere, but on the other hand he's just like, oh man, everybody wants like feeling a little bit used. And so they went in and they said, hey, we got a request from one of these image books they want to use on the characters. And he's like, oh, who is it? What is it? And they're like, oh, it's Local Man. And he's like, yeah, it makes sense, I guess, the concept. And they go, well, they want to use Boof. And he said, what? That's amazing. Yes. Like, he really lit up. So very exciting for us to get to bring Boof. The first Boof in like 30 years. Very exciting to me.
It's so ridiculous.
That's a claim to fame now. That's forget about all the My Little Pony stuff. You brought Boof back.
I did. Well, that's my only regret about this thing is that Tim got to draw all the superheroes, so I never drew Boof. There's still Tim and John Cleary are the only people to ever draw Boof in comics.
Well, there we go. Now prepare for a whole lot of commissions of Boof.
Well, look, that's the dream. If I could just do Boofs from now on, like I do My Little Ponies, that'd be great for dogs.
How protective can he really be of Spawn, though, if, Simon Straczynski's drawing it?
Oh, not anymore. Yeah,
not anymore, I know, but he did.
Yeah, he did. He sure did.
He
seems to have...
Makes that money.
Yeah.
He's more protective of it, just like letting people borrow it, like we did for Boof. Like I said, we didn't pay for this. It was just a handshake deal. Right. And so he's protective of that sort of thing, where it's just like, are these people going to take my character and just, if we had used Spawn, it would be Spawn everywhere. We'd put him right on the cover and we'd be trying to sell it like as if it was a Spawn thing. But this is clear. We're not taking advantage. We're doing it just because we love, Todd McFarlane, and we love, like in my case, I love Boof. And Tim, as I said, a new Boof convert.
You're so weird. There's a couple of quips in this issue. delivered by Jesse, Street Angel, that are just flat out brilliant. And I don't want to spoil them, but she does not take any shit.
Yeah.
And has focused on one particular character as being the whipping boy. And I thought, that's beautiful. That is just perfect.
Well, I don't want to spoil that either, but the payoff of that thing, like when the whipping boy gets to sort of like do the whipping, is a joke that I've had in my back pocket for 15 years. Like 15 years ago, me and a buddy pitched Cyberforce to Top Cow, and it was before My Little Pony. It was before I was anything. And they were like, and I wrote this joke, and I was like, when we get this book, I want to do this joke. And he was like, all right, slow down. First, we got to get the book. And we didn't end up getting the book. But I still was just like, man, that's the only character that this joke works on. And so I guess maybe one day, if everything works out right, I'll get to use this sometime. And it all worked out. I finally got there. So yeah, all that Street Angel stuff is all just setting up this one big payoff that I've wanted to do for my whole life. Hopefully it resonates with people.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It really is.
Yeah. Now I don't know what your relationship is with your parents. They both still around?
Yeah.
Excellent. But there's one panel in this issue in particular that I thought was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Is the mom?
Yeah. The one where she's on the phone and the flowers.
Yeah.
That panel is outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously the way I draw this book is different than the way I normally draw. Like I do this with photo reference. I shoot actors or, friends or models or whatever. And the lady that plays Jack's mom, I had to get in and get out real quick, shooting her for this issue. Like she had been sick and her husband's been sick, so it was just like scheduling was tough to get it going. And so we got together and I was just like bang, bang, bang. I always just take pictures real quick because I know that whatever I end up with, I'm going to be redrawing it and fixing it, when I'm drawing it anyway.
Right.
But yeah, that one, I always take I'll come back from shooting with models and I'll have 800 pictures or something, and I'm only going to need 30 of them. But that one I think I just had 2 pictures and I was like, oh, that's it. Yeah, we're good here. And then yeah, just sort of tweaking it and changing the expression a little bit and sort of trying to put that emotion into it. But I'm glad it worked for you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, there's not that I'm not saying your other panels don't have this, but there's a palpable emotion in that panel that because you're a creative individual and you pull from life experiences to make your art, and you must have been pulling from something really deep on that panel because you can feel it.
What's crazy is when I was drawing it, I just went through all my comics and got rid of a bunch of stuff. But I found 3 or 4 copies of my first book in my lifetime. And the very last page of that book too is me having a conversation on the phone with my mom. And there's a panel in that's the 20 years ago version of that same panel. I'll send it to you after the.
Yeah, please.
It's crazy how I drew that before, and it's almost the same thing. Just one's cartoony and one's realistic.
It sounds like the universe has a plan for you.
It does, right?
Yeah. Either that or you're unlocking the right things to proceed on whatever plan it has for you. Because you don't have to comply, right?
Yeah.
But it just seems like whatever you're doing is clicking cosmically.
Well, I think I'm just at work all the time, and so whatever else has happened in my life just ends up going into the work eventually.
Yeah, I wouldn't downplay it. I wouldn't I mean, yeah, it's a little woo woo, and again, tinfoil hat. But yeah. I just think you're plugged into something. Your current existence, you're plugged into something really special. I mean, look at these 2 books; they couldn't be more different, and they're both outstanding. And then, Stray Dogs, you've been on a real cycle of success. You've earned it. Like, you've earned it. You've worked to this point where you've become this creative person that you are now, and you're just annihilating it.
Well, I'm working on these two. There's two other books that I'm writing at the same time that won't be out until like next year. But those are also all very different, and it's sort of fun to have like these different, like, I don't know if it's going to end up being a strength or a weakness in the long run, but most of the stuff that I make is, like, you couldn't tie it together except for it being just like, oh, this is pretty good, like, or if you like it more than that, that's cool. But that's sort of what I'm hoping my lane ends up being. Is like, oh, Tony Fleecs, yeah, that would be pretty good. You can check that out for sure.
Nice. Well, I mean, if you look at the output of Stephen King, he does work more or less within the horror genre, but all of his books are just drastically different. Yeah. So you're the Stephen King of comics.
A lot of people have said it. Often I fuck that to myself.
Now, is this going to have a cardstock cover with the foil? Like
a foil cover? I don't know how cardstocky it's going to be. We're talking to production right now. I just fixed all the typos and made sure all the blacks were the right blacks and did all that stuff today. And we're talking about what color foil it's, which gold it's going to be.
Awesome.
So it'll definitely be foil. I don't know how thick it's going to be. It just depends. It'll probably be about the same as if you got the foil issue 1. It'll be that same level of thickness.
Oh, nice.
So you're not perfect binding this.
No, yeah, it's only like 35 pages, 36 pages.
Sal stitched.
So yeah, it'll be a staple.
Yeah, Sal staple. Yeah, awesome.
The approaching this Local Man Gold, I'm just, obviously it's not the same thing, but the amount of characters that you guys worked with, you specifically, Tony, did it feel like at any point? Did it feel like any of the, like, working with the other licensed properties, like Ponies, like Army of Darkness, anything like that, or did you just approach it like, I'm just writing a superhero comic?
It wasn't like, the approach was interesting. What was cool about this one is that all of the first arc of Local Man, pretty much, Tim and I were very much on the same page, and like, we had it all figured out. And then coming up to the second arc and Local Man Gold, we kept like sending stuff back and forth, and we were missing each other, and it wasn't because we both didn't want the same things. It was just like, I don't think you understand. So Tim flew out here for like 2 days, and we just had like a full, like, Local Man summit here at the house. And it was just like, we'll just be in here, we'll figure out the story and sort of put it all together. And the point of each of the characters in there, because we had permission to use other characters, and part of it was like, all right, well, we don't want there to be too many to clutter up the story, and we want to make sure each one of the characters in the story gets to do something and gets to have, like, a beginning, middle, and end. This character shows up here, and what's their arc or what's their story. So, like, Scrap has a thing that she's there to do, and Street Angel has a thing that she's there to do, and Stryker definitely has a thing that he's there to do. So it's just like, it was about, we knew what Jack Steele was. We knew what Jack's problem was, like what the dilemma was that he was having to face. He's got this version of himself there that he can't stand, and he has to stop the world from blowing up with him. But then figuring out, like, well, what's the personal of it? What's the part of it that's like Local Man? And so then that's where the parents come in, and that's where all our other characters and how they interact and how he fits into the world that he's in now. So it was different than writing Local Man was, and it was also different than writing Ponies or Stray Dogs or anything else. Like, this one was real special. Like, we sort of figured, what it was most like is when I wrote the Pony TV show and was in the writer's room for that. It was sort of like that, just like collaborating in person with people, going back and forth, and sort of like, how does this fit in, and how can we make this work? And yeah, gotcha. I think it's the best Local Man so far.
Yeah, me too.
And hopefully it works as like people pick it up and go like, oh yeah, the trade comes out next month. I'll get that too.
It expands the universe of Local Man. I mean, up until now, it's been pretty limited insular to the small town. But now you've just opened up you've swung wide the doors, and we don't want to say who appears in this, but it touches on a lot of corners of the Image universe. Yeah. One of the hooks is to a very high-profile Image series by I guess you could call him a powerhouse.
Oh, friend of the show. Oh, yeah, I forgot, too. Joan from Love Everlasting is in this, too. I always forget.
Well, I was going to keep it a secret, but okay.
Yeah, so was I. But
like, that's in the preview pages. Like, she's not part of the team, but she's involved in this story, and she's sort of like the MacGuffin that they end up chasing after eventually. But that was fun, too, because I love Elsa, and I love Tom's writing. And Tom, obviously, is real tight with Tim Seeley. Like, I wasn't involved in the Love Everlasting negotiations at all. I was just there to read the book and then go like, oh, what if she said this, or throw a couple lines in there. But yeah, and she's the one, I think, when Tim draws them, he does Duncan from Fire Breather in a real Andy Cooney style, and he does Joan in a real Elsa style, and then the other ones he's sort of just doing Tim. Like he's sometimes he gets like his most top cowy, but it's all Tim at the end of the day. But those ones, the way he draws Joan and the way he draws Duncan, I had a lot of fun, seeing those pages come in, because I was just like, wait, it looks just like Andy. I
almost had to check to see if I missed Elsa's name in the credits for those panels. It looks really good. What I do appreciate about this issue is, you can pick it up. It's technically a one shot, and you're going to get a bang for your buck. But if you are reading Local Man, it picks up where the arc ended, and it lets you know what's coming next. Are you continuing the numbering, or are you going back to number 1?
No, it'll be number 6. Issue 6 is solicited in the new Lunar previews, or whatever it's called right now. And then, so the next arc will be 6, 7, 8, 9. And then that trade will be Local Man Gold, and then 6, 7, 8, 9.
If you're not caught up on Local Man, though, there is a teensy spoiler within the recap.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
The end of the first arc we give away in the recap, for sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, you should be caught up on Local Man, you slackers. The love interest, the MacGuffin is that, of course, when she falls in love, time folds, right? Yeah. And so the whole caveat is they're trying to get her to fall in love with one of them, so all these characters can get back to where they belong and stop this whole cosmic brouhaha. And the person she latches onto was not the person I thought she was going to fall in love with. I because it's Local Man, I'm like, it's got to be Jack. He's going to do this thing that I see him doing, and she's going to be like, but that's not the way it turned out. I was like, holy shit, you're even pulling the rug out from under me on what I thought was the obvious choice. Like, what? No, it's
cool.
It is very cool. It's wonderful.
It is Boof, yeah. Boof saves the day.
She falls in love with Boof.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. He's probably hung.
But he's sitting there, I don't know, he's blowing bubbles and getting gum out of the vending machines in the bathroom, at the gas station bathroom, so.
Yeah, he's all set that way. He's going to be safe.
That's right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Just the interplay between Street Angel and Boof is great, and Street Angel and Stryker. It's just great. It's wonderful. It's just you have to. What'd you say the final order cutoff is tomorrow? Monday. Order this damn thing. It is really well done. No surprise, because it's from Tony and Tim. But it's just it was extremely fun to read this thing. Not only because we know you guys, but because you're pulling the heartstrings of like 30 plus years of Image love, right?
It's a love letter, absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. And we sort of wanted it to work. Obviously, it's a sampler for Local Man, right? Like, you pick this up, and if you like it, then pick up the trade or grab the back issues or jump on for the next arc or whatever. But also, we wanted it to sort of work as a advertisement for Love Everlasting, or for the Cyberforce hardcover, or for dollar bins, or grab your Fire Breather hardcovers, or your Fire Breather trades, or your Dynamo 5 trades. Like we heard from retailers when the series was first coming out, young people came in who weren't around in the 90s, and they would buy Local Man and just be like, what's this? That's so cool. And then they would come back in and get in the dollar bins, or
oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Force omnibus that just came out, or it has sort of worked for some retailers as like a gateway drug, which nothing would make me happier than if people were digging in the bins to find Boof because they learned about him in Local Man.
What is happening? Seriously,
You get that Boof resurgence.
The Boof was my jam. Let me explain what it was, because it was a very specific time in comics. It was Ren and
He had
Stimpy.
2 titles.
Yeah. Well, and they explained it they did a Bleeding Cool article when we first announced we had Boof. When we broke that news, and they explained that the reason that Boof had 2 titles and there's so much of it is because McFarlane had made a deal with Walmart, and Walmart ordered 100,000 of each issue sight unseen. They're like, this guy that makes the toys and Spawn, he's going to make us a family, all ages kids comic store. And he did. It is basically like a Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead type. It's this sort of gross out kids humor comic. But yeah, they sold 100,000 of each of those, of all 6 Boofs and all 6 Boof and the Bruise Crews, direct to Walmart. And then on top of that, whatever they sold it, in the direct market.
Wait. So they made $1.2 million on Boof?
At least, yeah.
Man, they were raking it in back then.
Yeah.
And Boof's another one of those, Boof and the Bruise Crew, I'm pretty sure is another one of those ones that is just comes out of Todd's, childhood sketchbooks, which is those. There's those, and then if you remember in Image Comics 0, there's a bunch of other, characters that were just the Freak and stuff like this stuff that Todd was just sort of like coming up with on the fly. All that stuff always impressed me. And that's sort of how, when we design some of our characters for Local Man, Tim will just do like draw it on the page, just figure it out right now, because that's how to capture that spirit. Is just like, it's either coming from something we had from when we were 13, the way Savage Dragon or Spawn, or it's like, this character has water powers, bang, 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 then this is what they look like.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. That really is awesome.
But yeah, if you're a retailer, or if you have a retailer, order with confidence on this one. But I think it's something that you're going to be able to. I mean, it's shiny. I know from that first issue we did, the people ate up that shiny cover, and then also it's sort of like a real sampler, not just for us, but for a bunch of books. That says it all.
That's the stinger right there. And it will, not only will it appeal to McFarlane fans with Boof, but it will appeal to Spawn fans, because you directly reference a Spawn villain in this book.
Yeah. And we referenced him before. But we always do that. Like, we try and make sure that this fits into the Image world. There's we give a shout out to a Max character. We just wanted to sort of feel like these people exist inside this world that Tim and I can in.
You've done a great job.
Thanks, man.
So proud of you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
Well, how can we not be? You're just doing great work.
It's true. Very true.
It is a joy to have someone on and to just talk about their books without having to play the game. And more often than not, we don't. Like, we honestly love the people that come on and the books we talk about. But there's some times where it's just like, we got to talk about this thing. And that never happens with you, because we genuinely love you and the stuff you make. So,
well, and if I'm not doing something that's for you, then we just don't talk about that. We just talk about right? Like,
Right. I appreciate the work you do on ponies, but that's just not for me.
yeah, we don't have to talk about the 50 issues of My Little Pony that I did, or the Star Wars comics I did that are for kids. Like, we'll talk about when I'm coming with something that you guys are into. That's fine. But I think that's why the people that listen trust you guys, because you're not just bullshitting.
No, you're a chameleon, Tony.
That's I just have a lot of different tastes and ideas.
That's nice. Variety. All right, so we have nothing else to say about these two phenomenal books. Remember, the final order cutoff on Local Man is Monday, so make sure you order that. And Army of Darkness Forever is October, David, you said 13th?
11th.
So you got plenty of time to order that in droves. Get all the covers.
Is it in this current previews or next month's previews?
No.
It's out now.
It's in this previews?
Yeah, it's got
Army of Darkness?
A big 2-page spread article with me.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. I skimmed the Dynamite section. That's right. I'm sorry.
For those of
like a fold-out ad on the front cover. I didn't pick up previews yet, but I joined the Army of Darkness comics Facebook group, and they're just like, Jesus Christ, look, there's like a 2-page spread here on the inside front cover of previews. And I was like, I gotta go get one of those. My mom would be so impressed.
How could I have forgotten that it's in this previews? For those of you who don't know, on our Slack, we have fun. And I took a photo of Tony's portrait that appears in the previews, and I drew a penis next to his mouth.
That's been drawn next to pictures of me, sir. This is my whole life. I'm just running from these books.
And you can only see that on our previews. And you said...
Join the patrons.
Yes, and you said that when I posted it, I knew you'd get a kick out of it, but you said need more veins. So
true, you're an artist, you should know.
Yeah, not veiny enough. Well, I didn't want to do an engorged one. It was
like a Simon. You drew a flaccid penis.
I did. It was flaccid.
Like a Simon Bisley, like a Lobo dick. Lobo's arm.
All right, so moving on. Let's talk about some other comics.
Yeah, what'd you guys read?
Got stuff. Got lots of stuff.
Got stuff.
Well, I don't have something. I didn't put it on my list, but I know David read this. Let me move this over here because he specifically put this on his list. But I read it later and didn't get to amend my list. But this is from writer Jim Zub. Yes. They don't
illustrated by John Bush. Oh no, wait.
No, not John. You wouldn't know. You would think, right? They don't put the credits on the title, which is really silly.
No, well, I got cover A, and it is down at the very bottom, but just last names. But and then you got to get to this first double-page spread to see the credits in the comic.
Written by Jim Zub, illustrated by Roberto de la Torre, with Jose Villarubia as color artist. Wouldn't you know it? Richard Starkings did the letters. It's Conan the Barbarian #1 from Titan Comics.
Titan Comics,
yes.
Yeah.
See, I'm a loyalist. There were many covers from which to choose. Even my local shop had a cover, an exclusive cover by Mark Schultz.
Oh, no shit. That's great.
Yeah. Well, he's charging in the shop $10 for the cover, and if you order online, it's like $15. So, okay. I mean, I love Mark Schultz, but like I said, I'm a loyalist, and I went with cover D, which was Patrick Zurcher's takeoff on the original cover to Conan #1. So this is #1, so I just went with that. I know you got the Panosian cover.
That was all that they had.
Oh, well, it's still...
Panosian as well.
It's still a nice cover. I mean, it's Dan. Dan
doesn't,
for
sure.
Yeah, Dan doesn't screw around. But I didn't have any reservations about this issue. Once I knew Roberto de la Torre was going to illustrate it, I thought, okay, well, at least visually, we're in good hands. Because if there was ever anyone with the mojo to fill, or to at least put his foot in Buscema's shoes, I don't fill them. That's a pretty tall task, right? But to approximate the majesty of and the power of Big John, Roberto is the guy to do it. And this issue looks, I mean, it feels like 1976 again.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, right? The visuals are just plain perfect, but that's the starting point. They start the issue off with the old "No, O Prince, that between the years when the oceans drank Atlantis," and I'm like, motherfucker, that's the way you start a Conan copy. That's what you do. You need to do the Median Chronicles. That's the intro that everybody who's ever read a vintage Conan comic has experienced. This intro, you need it. And there it is, right there on the map. We have a big bloody circle around Venarium because that's where Conan is. Conan's a mercenary, of course, when this starts. And he's kind of sort of pissed off because they finished a mission, and turns out that the captain of the mercenaries, who's a coward and a shithead, made a decision that resulted in a couple of mercenaries being killed. And Conan doesn't take too kindly to that. If nothing else, this issue establishes Conan as a man of honor. He may be a barbarian, he may be a mercenary, like his sword is for hire, but the man is infused almost like the code of the samurai. Like he's a very honorable individual. His deeds may be a little on the line of, there's impropriety and illegal and just plain malicious in some instances. But Conan is a man of honor, if nothing else, right? So Conan's pissed because this captain got 2 mercenaries killed. So Conan takes him to task, beats the shit out of him. And in the meanwhile, he's remembering this horrible battle where it was actually called the Battle of Venarium, where it was Conan and a bunch of barbarians pushing back the Aquilonian armies, and it was just a savage ordeal. Well, the savagery does not end in the past. In the present, they're greeted by a Pictish woman who breathlessly comes into town on horseback saying, "You guys got to get the hell out of here," because there is an army of Pictish, a lost tribe of Picts have gathered, and something's working on them. Like they're not human anymore. They're unstoppable. They're infused with evil, and they're coming your way. And they have basically slaughtered everything in their path. So you guys got to get out of here. And the Picts in Robert E. Howard's universe were never regarded as trustworthy, or they were basically seen as savages. Even among the barbarians, like the Picts are seen as savages. And so they don't believe it. Like, yeah, all right, whatever. And Conan's like, wait, like let's hear this woman out. Turns out she was right, because this lost tribe of Picts come in and just start tearing the place and the inhabitants apart. And Conan does what Conan does. And at one point, this Pictish woman saves Conan's ass. Like he's about to be ambushed from behind when he's got his shield and it's all covered with blood. He just vanquished an enemy. He's not really paying attention. And one of the Picts, or one of these evil beings, got the drop on of him. So she beheads the attacker. And so Conan's like, yeah, all right, thanks a lot. Her name's Brissa. And so later in the story, Brissa gets ganged up on by a bunch of Picts, and there's a mound, and Conan saves her. So towards the end of the story, it's Brissa and Conan, and she's like, you got to know something. You're a Cimmerian, right? And he's, yeah. She says, well, they're currently overrunning your homeland. So there's that. In the last pages, you see these Pictish hordes They look like Deadites a little bit. Just to keep it on evil, on the topic of Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness. This evil horde is invading Cimmeria, and Conan's people are not faring too well based on this last page. But wonderful freaking issue. Like the spirit of the Thomas Barry Windsor Smith stuff, John Buscema stuff, it's alive in this book.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I just picked it up on a whim. I knew you were going to talk about it. I didn't know if we were going to wait for Jason to come back, so I just wanted to be aware. But I was blown. I mean, I've read some Jim Zub stuff. It's fine, but I haven't, aside from the stuff that the Ablaze books, I haven't really been reading a whole lot of Conan lately. So I just figured, what the hell, and I am very happy I did.
What do you think, my man?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's great looking. Weirdly, I didn't know you were going to talk about this. I'm going to do some covers for this book too.
Oh man!
Of course you are.
What?
Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm on to something.
No, I'm definitely right. I mean,
yeah. They gave me this copy at San Diego because the chief creative officer, whoever runs, the editor that runs, not Titan, but this Heroic Signatures, which is the people that own all the Robert E. Howard stuff, is somebody that I'd worked with before, and so we were just talking about it at Comic-Con. So yeah, I'm going to do some. That was one of my Comic-Con meetings. Do some Conan covers, and totally psyched out about it because of how rad this Roberto Della Torre artwork is. Like, he's incredible on the inside of this thing. Super good.
I wish the shop had cover B available. I really like his cover, although I really, really like Colleen Doran's, but I'd have gotten cover B if I had the chance.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that's why I'm doing some of these covers, because they're doing like between 4 and 11 per issue, they said, which I guess is just the way the market works right now.
Yeah. They didn't have the wraparound cover for you, Vince, the map one?
The map.
Well, Dave put this one in my hand, and I knew that, what with it being an homage to the first issue, I was like, this is the one I have to go with. It's Conan the Barbarian #1, a Zurcher throwback to the first issue cover by Barry. I needed it. I had to have it. So yeah, I knew it was in good hands when I don't think there's a bigger Conan fan than Dave, proprietor of Comics.
Really?
Yeah. He's about 3 years younger than me. So we came up pretty much reading the same stuff, and he's a Conan completist. He will buy anything with Conan, to the point where we both bitched about the Belit series that came out of
from Dynamite.
Oh, just garbage. And we were just like, oh, how could this even be so yeah, he loves Conan, and he just gave it to me and looked at me, and he was just like, this is it. This is it. Right? Yeah. So I knew from the get, like, without even reading page 1, I knew that it was going to be good, because if Dave gives me the thumbs up on a Conan book, I know we're in good hands. But one of the things that in 40 plus years of buying and reading comics, I've come to expect, or I guess you could say demand, there should always be a Conan title on the stands, whether it's from Marvel or wherever. It doesn't have to be Marvel, or the Dark Horse books were great, but there should never be a month that goes by that there's not a Conan comic. Well, you could say the same thing about Superman, right? And Spider-Man. There are constants. From personal perspective, right? If you didn't come up in the 70s, you wouldn't feel that way. But Conan was omnipresent in the 70s, like everywhere, right? So I've come to just expect it's a feeling of comfort to know that there's a Conan monthly again. Marvel did it. Now it's somebody else's turn. We're just spoiled because the Marvel version was phenomenal as well. So I guess it's a resurgence of great Conan comics. There for a while, like towards the tail end of the Marvel run, where the Image style was the go-to. Those Conan comics are not good. But Dark Horse picked up the baton and did really great things with the character. And now it's just it's Mahmoud, I think, compounded on the Dark Horse stuff, and now Roberto's just cut from the same cloth as Big John. So there's no drawback to this issue. It's just phenomenal. I'm glad.
Talking to these guys, because like I said, the people who are publishing it now, they're publishing with Titan, but it's like the Titan's only slightly a licensor on this. It's mostly just like the company that owns Conan's making Conan now.
So it's the Robert E. Howard estate?
Well, it's the Heroic Signatures.
Heroic Signatures.
Who they own all the Robert E. Howard stuff. So I don't know if it's the estate or what their deal is exactly, but it's the same people that had licensed it out to Marvel and to Dynamite, and they just basically decided, like, well, we'll just do this ourselves now.
So I'm guessing Red Sonja is
that's Marvel.
That's Roy Thomas's, right?
Yeah, that's not in the deal.
Even though Red Sonja is a Robert E. Howard creation, she's nothing like what Roy Thomas did. So yeah, that's cool. So then the Red Sonja, I'm guessing, is firmly lodged within Dynamite for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so I think she lives over there.
Great. That's good. That's really good. What?
I mean, that fucking Moritat one ruled.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. That's the best Sonja has gotten.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to. I mean, there's been a lot of talented people that have touched Red Sonja over at Dynamite, so I don't want to disparage anyone. But visually, I think the Moritat was the absolute pinnacle of what Dynamite produced for Red Sonja.
I hope they have they ever solicited? Did they do a hardcover of that? I want to get the collected full version of that thing. Is it finished? Did he finish it?
Yeah, it was only 12 issues.
Yeah,
it's done. Super good. Yeah, we were spoiled.
This is too. They told me some of their plans too, and if you're like, it sounds like they're just sort of like cherry picking all their favorite stuff from all the Conans, like as far as like artists and writers, and they're gonna. If you love good Conan, it sounds like they're planning to make a bunch of it.
I'm sure the single title is not going to remain an only child for long.
I can tell you for sure that you are correct.
I knew it. It's okay. I mean, I expect it at this point. When something clicks, one is never enough, and it's a good thing. Like we're getting more than one Transformers and GI Joe book. We're getting more than one Turtles book. Big picture. So yeah, it just stands to reason that if people are buying it, they're going to make more of it.
But I think it's it's not like I don't think they're going to dilute it necessarily. Like
no,
all the stuff that they told me is coming. It's stuff you're going to be psyched about.
Yeah, that Belit and Valeria book. Oof, that was like the end for me.
That was a Blaze, though, wasn't it? I thought it was Dynamite.
No, it was a Blaze. Yeah, it's just bad. I had an idea, and the next time I see him, I'm going to tell him. I don't know what kind of clout Dan Parent has at Archie. I'm guessing a good amount, because Dan is like the face of Archie, at least from my perspective. And last time I saw him at the shop, we were talking, blah, 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 and I walked away and I was like, I got a really good idea for this man. Homage stuff is like popular these days. Mm-hmm. What if Dan Parent did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story? Because you got the old Archie Turtles book and the current face of Archie, like smack them together. Like, I think that's a really cool concept. No?
Makes sense.
I feel like that's part of a concept. Like, you got to get the rest of the way there.
You need another hook.
Yeah, just putting him on Turtles is one thing, but what's the deal?
Well, Archie had a fun Turtles run.
Yes.
That is beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So to pick up the reins of that at the publisher that published it, Archie, with their current Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, because Parent pretty much establishes the style of Archie, right?
Yeah, the Dan DeCarlo of the...
Yes, that's fair. That's very fair.
But the Turtles Archie book wasn't drawn in like an Archie style.
No, but that's the hook, right?
Yeah.
So it needs more. Needs more work.
I feel like it is like you're close to something. Has IDW done one of those Saturday morning?
They do, yeah.
Yes.
They do a Saturday morning Turtles, but it's in the card. It's in the animation style. Yeah. So that's cool. But this would have to be published from Archie, an Archie IDW joint published at Archie. That's
want to be on their flimsiest newsprint.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they'll charge you $4 for it. But
sure.
Just a throwback in a lot of senses. I think you're right. I think I'm missing. I have the vegetable and the potato, but I don't have the meat yet.
Yeah, it's almost there. Right. I'm interested. You have my attention. Or what
I'll think more on it.
Django. Who is that?
Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's you. Are you leaning on something?
Someone calling you?
Did you all go away?
No, I'm about 2 feet from my computer, so it's not me. And it's not David.
What the fuck is happening?
Are you mentally controlling?
Patrons?
It's the patrons.
The patrons in your...
So yes, if you're a Conan fan, you're going to love this book. If you're new to Conan, this will give you a glimpse into why the character is so beloved with us old-timers.
Sure.
And they go out of their way to let you know that Conan has big old baby blue eyes. That's the thing that gets the women. If he's not squinting in a medium or long shot, if he's up close, you see those big baby blues, and that's the thing that gets the wenches, man. And I was very surprised. You had a little panel of nudity.
Yep.
That was odd.
I'm hoping maybe the next issue we might see some more Parissa.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Yeah, because when you first see her, she's got the hood on, and all you can see is the blue stripe across her eyes. I'm like, what is this, an elf? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But no, she's a Pict. So she's dark-skinned.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing more of her without the cloak and everything else.
There you go. I'm sure it'll happen. That was the thing, reading Savage Sword, which I knew was different, but I didn't know that it wasn't subject to the Comics Code Authority. Mm-hmm. But it just felt different because they would do things that weren't explicit, but there would occasionally be far more extensive glimpses of female anatomy in Savage Sword. So it felt adult to me.
Right.
And it was in a lot of senses. But they never actually went full on Warren explicit, like with the nudity. It doesn't go there, but I mean, there is nudity in it, which is like, wow. So it's almost like the brass ring after all that time hoping for a nipple or two. And I mean, there was nipples in Savage Sword. They just weren't very frequent, but there's nipples in this book. So if you like your Hyborian age nipples, then you're gonna get some.
You're hitting the word nipples. It's so funny.
Who doesn't love nipples? It's not a boob without the nipple.
It's true.
Nipple.
Yeah, nipple.
2 nipples up. Conan from Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics.
Yeah. See, I was so excited. I just blew past that first page. I was like, oh, yeah, Conan. Like, so there's credits, and I was like, fuck that. I just got to get to give me the map. And there it is. There's a map. Venarium's really close to Samaria, which is in the backyard of Asgard, which I always knew that, but it was just like, what? I don't think... You got to go over the mountains to get to Asgard, which is perfect, because Asgard should be sheltered like that, because they're Asgardians, but they're not gods. Yep.
Yep.
Really good. Read it.
Excellent.
Conan the Barbarian #1 from Ablaze. No, Titan. It used to Titan Comics and Heroic Signatures.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There's a lot of barbarian books. Mighty Barbarians, Conan the Barbarians,
Well, that's done.
Last
No,
Barbarian.
Last Barbarian.
Yeah, Last Barbarian just finished. I hope we get another one of those. Who knows?
Was it just 5 or 6 issues? I think I got the last issue to read still.
Yeah, last issue came out. I don't know if it was 5 or 6. I'm thinking it's 5, but that was a lot of fun. There you go. What have you guys read,
What have you read?
my friends?
I haven't been to the shop this week, but I went last week, and I picked up Deadpool Batter Blood #2.
What?
Is the Rob Liefeld Deadpool book that's coming out
Oh,
right
right.
now?
Yeah, right.
It's a sequel to Bad Blood, which was he put out as just a straight hardcover, and then Marvel re-released it as issues. And so it's Rob, and then Chad Bowers is doing the scripting, but it's just classic Rob, where he's sort of writing the story, and then him and Chad Bowers get together and figure out what the people say. I think is how it goes down. But this is literally just like the follow-up story to that first story, where that was about sort of like almost like a Hush for Deadpool, where there's a character from Deadpool's past that ends up being like horribly disfigured and sort of like chasing Deadpool. Like they were trying to make another Deadpool, and they made this kid into this monster. And now it's sort of like haunts Deadpool, and he has to sort of like try and make up for his past. This big monster character called Thumper. It has another name, but he has a name as a kid, but he's called Thumper when he's this big monster. And so Deadpool's fighting this guy around, or like chasing this guy around, and he ends up getting into all kinds of fights with other people that are chasing him. And in this issue, they introduce this girl Shatterstar called Shatterstorm, who comes from the Mojo world and like looks up to Shatterstar the way that Shatterstar looked up to Longshot. And so like there's all kinds of cool fighting with her and Deadpool. And then Deadpool starts to like fritz out. Like you can tell that somehow the Mojo verse or something is messing with him. When you're reading it, you think it's the Mojo verse because you're just like, oh, he's fighting a Mojo verse character. Somebody's mojoing around with his shit. Like on one page you'll have guns, and the next page you'll have swords, and he'll just be like, what happened? What happened to my guns? Part of me thinks it was just Rob was just drawing too fast and wasn't even paying attention. But they wrote it into the story so that he's like glitching out, which I think is cool. But yeah, it's just what you're here for is just page after page of Rob Liefeld doing big splashy Deadpool drawings, and the colors on it probably for like the last 10 years or so. I mean, Rob Liefeld's always had amazing colorists, like ever since Image, ever since Kiko Taganashi. But then for a while, he had Romulo Fajardo, probably like 5 years ago. And lately, he's had J.D. Ramos. And this guy rules. Like, he just sort of puts this whole painterly style over Rob's stuff. And it's super fun. And then at the end of it, spoilers, it starts with, like, the first issue ended with Girl Shatterstar, and this issue ends with Girl Arcade, and that's who's been messing with him the whole time. And so there's like this lady arcade named Arcata, which me and my friends think probably should have been Arcadia. Like, that's a cooler lady arcade name. But it's definitely, it feels like, we were talking about Babe Watch earlier, but I think Rob is just like, how's the originator of this bullshit? How come I don't have a Spider-Gwen? So he's just taking as many shots, he's just like, all right, well, let's see what Arcade looks like. If she's a girl, maybe that's a hit. But the Shatterstorm character is fucking cool looking. Girl Shatterstar. So, recommended. There's not a whole lot to it. It's just fucking kick-ass Deadpool adventures, and A+ Rob Liefeld artwork, if that's your thing, which it is mine.
Wow, so you got some conceptual continuity going on.
With my
yeah.
That's the dream. Me and Tim, like I saw Liefeld a few times at Comic-Con, And I met him at a signing. Like, I've met him many times, but I'm always, like, I don't go like, it's me, I make comics. I'm just like, oh, big fan, And I met him at a Local Man signing that I was doing at his local shop. And he was just there buying his books on a Saturday. And so I was able to give him Local Man. And I'm sort of like slowly, without trying to be a nudge or anything, like I just want a Rob Liefeld cover on this thing. The dream would be to get like as many Image founders doing covers as possible. But Rob obviously is sort of my entry way to Image Comics. So that would be the brass ring. That would be great.
I think of all the founders, Eric's probably the one that would do it the fastest.
Not true.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Do tell.
Well, it's because Tim and him are tight. Like I said earlier, like we have, there's like each of us are friends with different people, and Tim's tight with Eric Larson, and he's hit him up a few times for things, and he's going through his own stuff right now. Whatever he's up to. Dragon's coming out sort of slowly.
Yeah, very.
And I think he's just sort of like trying to get that figured out and get that going, and so he's not in a place where he's doing a bunch of other covers. But we have 2 Image Founder covers coming. And they're in the works. Like one's inked and one is a pencil. So they're coming. But none of them are Liefeld yet. That's my dream would be for the last issue to have just like the coolest Rob Liefeld cover. So we'll see if I can get that.
I can try and guess, but you probably wouldn't tell me if I was right.
You can guess.
Silvestri.
No. I mean, at this point, though, the odds get easier and easier every time.
Seriously. So I won't guess. Valentino.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I won't say Jim Lee because that's silly.
Well,
It would have been incredible to get a Jim Lee.
Yeah.
I don't think
Todd? Really?
No Todd.
No Liefeld, no Todd. Portasio?
It was Portasio, that's right.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and that thing looks super badass. I'm so excited about that thing. So I'll send you guys that when it's done.
Doesn't get enough credit, I think. Wills.
Oh yeah, incredible artist. Was looking through a bunch of his stuff when we were working on this cover, and his stuff is always incredible. I mean, he had all that shit happen to him right at that time when everybody else was able to just sort of buckle down and knock out all this stuff and sort of bask in the success of Image. He had like a death in the family, and he had an injury. It's just sort of like the worst possible timing, but he still hustles. He still does great,
Yeah.
I call him if you're a Wu-Tang fan, he's sort of like the Capadonna of Image Comics. There's this guy in Wu-Tang that was locked up when the first Wu-Tang album came out, but he's like, for all intents and purposes, like a founding member, and then he shows up, later when the second album comes out, and everybody's like, oh, they got this new guy. And it's just like, no, he was always there. He just, had a chick run out. He had to go away.
I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't.
With me on the conceptual continuity of Wu-Tang Image Comics.
Yeah, nice. From what I remember, Wetworks was ridiculous.
Oh, what's cool about it, they did a kayfabe about it recently, within the past year, because what's cool about it is when they were first going to put it out, like he drew that first teaser image in the back of like Wildcats 2 or 3, or it was like a not just an image, like a preview pages. And in the time between that happening and then all the horrible shit happening to him and actually coming back and putting out Wetworks, computer coloring had taken off, and like there was never a book that was more tailor-made to be colored, by Wildstorm Effects computer coloring.
Right.
Because it's like that liquid gold and all those blasts, and like that one character that was like a glowing blue, looked like a Jedi ghost, or like an action figure of a Jedi ghost.
Right.
Like that see-through plastic blue. Like all those effects were completely perfect for Wetworks, and they wouldn't have been there if it had come out when Wildcats was coming out, or when the first Forces were coming out.
Even on the merchandising side, yeah, I love Todd's figures. The Spawn figures were great, but that Wetworks vampire,
Cool.
shut up! Like that was when that came out. I was like, oh my god! And then they did the Wetworks werewolf.
Yeah,
ridiculous figures, just amazing.
Those are like a sneak preview of what they would end up doing with those toys too, because those were sort of like the first ones that had like those little tiny features, and
Yeah, well, the vampire had real hair.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me at a show I was at recently. They traded me a My Little Pony head sketch for that gigantic Cygor figure.
Wow.
Really? The one that just came out?
Yeah.
Oh, that thing's nice.
Yeah, so that's a real hunk of plastic, and I love a ape and a Cygor.
So you did a head sketch for $30. I'm just saying. But that Cygor is really nice. I think it's less than 30. But anyway, I think you made out on the deal because it's really pretty.
So whatever the cost, I made out on it.
I wish I had $1 for every version of Cygor that has come out of McFarlane.
This might not be the most recent. This one was huge. I think it was like a $60 toy, and it was on sale.
Well, there's a Cygor that came out. Todd put out. I don't even know what the name of the line of the figures are.
Yeah,
there's like a snake and a dinosaur, and I think I can see you. Look at you.
See behind me?
No, I can't see it. Yeah, that's nice. That's not the one I'm thinking of. No, but that's nice.
Super huge. Yeah.
Real nice. Kiss it for me. You have a Spawn shirt on.
Yeah, I got that at Comic-Con too.
Hey, looks like you're losing weight.
No, that's not going on.
What? It looks like it.
But thank you. I appreciate it. You always say the nicest things.
Look how cute you are. Oh, and now you went away. Okay.
Making me blush.
So there you go.
I was surprised that, not surprised, I didn't remember that Wetworks went on for so long because I was going through the quarter bin at the shop, and he's got like issues like 19, 21. I was like, when the hell did this go on for so long?
Dude, grab them.
Yeah, I feel like it was
I will.
Up in the 30s.
Any Wetworks, grab them. Because I have I think 1 to 5, and that's it.
But Wills isn't on the later issues.
Doesn't matter. I mean,
No,
if
I'll definitely grab them.
Yeah, if I have 1 to 5, I have to have them all. So
Okay.
that's just how it works.
You got it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Nice. You're lucky you got quarter bins. Lowest we go locally is $1.
Yeah, I see yours. Yeah.
I mean, it's still worth it, but quarter bins would be
And
nice.
it's mostly image stuff. He's got the Wetworks. He's got the JMS imprint, Rising Stars, Midnight Nation. He's got a lot of there was some Stormwatch in there.
Wow, how are you not?
Yeah,
aside for the GMS stuff, how are you not grabbing all these? Grab them.
Well,
Some of them are curled reader copies, but still a quarter.
Yeah, that's a sad. No, I would be sad. I would be sad.
Okay, all right. I'll pull out the good ones for you.
Yeah, nice.
43 issues of Wetworks. That's crazy.
How many?
43.
43?
Yeah. Well, Supreme went to more than 50.
Yeah, but
Well,
we
yeah.
all know about those.
But Supreme also had Alan Moore.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, if you just look at all the iterations of Stormwatch, all of the Splinter things that came out of that, there's a lot of product that came out of Image.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. What else do we have? Comics. Woohoo!
So I, on a whim, I decided to try this book from Dark Horse called Blue Book. The first 5 issues, anyway. It's written by James Tynion IV, but I think it started as a Substack story for him. It was one of the first things he did when he made the deal. But it's not quite an anthology. Like the first half of the book is this main story, and then there's this true weird serial in the back half. And the first issue, actually, the first true weird story is written and drawn by a youngster by the name of Klaus Janson, and it's a story set in Brooklyn in 1889 at Coney Island. But the main story, the reason why I was checking it out, is about it's about Betty and Barney Hill, who were driving home from a vacation in the early '60s. They were it was a Tuesday night, and Betty and Barney began the long drive home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, from their holiday in Montreal. And it's Michael Avon Oeming is the artist, and it really it's primarily though at least the first few pages are like 4 widescreen panels to a page, but it's very cinematic. But as they're driving, their thoughts are wandering. They kind of just want to get home because it's drive will get them home. They can get back to their lives. The vacation's behind them, and life goes on. But there seems to be something following them on the drive, and Betty is she's like that moon seems awfully big, and it's getting bigger, and Barney figures it must be some kind of satellite. So Betty asks if they can pull over, and he does, and Delcy is their little dachshund. Delcy goes running out of the car, but she they keep an eye on her. She's fine, but Betty gets out the binoculars and she's looking to the sky, and not much really going on. Barney's thinking, it's definitely satellite because it looks like it's moving on. Betty's not sure, but Barney's like, we still got some miles to go, so let's get moving. And she's in the front seat and passenger seat, looking up through the window with her binoculars, and she's just like, yeah, I can't. I really don't think it's satellite. And Barney's just coming up with other things. He's like, well, maybe it's just a plane on its way to Canada, and they're kind of debating what it might be, and Barney's trying to keep it more kind of in his reality, but Betty's like, nah, I don't. There's just something going on. They stop the car again. She still has the binoculars attached to her face. She keeps looking to the sky. He keeps saying things like, it's hunting season. Maybe the hunters are. Maybe it's a Piper cub. And she's like, it's not hunting season. It's not any sort of plane. We don't hear a plane. And now he's like thinking, maybe it's a helicopter. And she's just like, no, just stop. And all of a sudden, this pill-shaped thing kind of gets in front of the moon. And she hands the binoculars to Barney. He looks up. And now it looks like it's circling them high in the sky. So he tells her to get in the car. We're losing so much time with this nonsense. And he goes to the trunk. She asks him what's he doing back there. He's like, nothing. You don't have to worry about it. But he's got a small caliber revolver next to the spare tire. So he's keeping it with him just to be safe. They're still driving along, still talking about whether or not what this thing might be in the sky. Now she's really getting adamant. She's like, no, you got to stop. You got to stop the car. You've never seen anything like this in your life. We're not going to get a second chance to see something like this. We have to know what the hell it is. So he stops the car, and he asks her for the binoculars, and he looks up, and it's a flying saucer. It's looking right at him. He gets back in the car. No, he's looking up at it. It's kind of like angling towards him. His eyes are wide. Betty's in the car. Her eyes are wide. Delsey's in the car. Poor girl's whimpering. And we get a close-up on Barney and his eyes, and then we cut back to the saucer, and there's these blue glowing silhouettes in what would be the windows of the ship, and he's just like he can't believe what he's seeing, and we do actually see the aliens' faces, and he's frozen. Barney's frozen at this point. Betty's screaming to him not to get too close. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you paying attention to me? And he runs back to the car, screaming, "They're going to capture us!" And that's the end of the first issue. And so basically, there's no real to be continued at the end of each chapter, but each issue does pretty much pick up immediately where the previous chapter ended, and so they're gets back in the car, and he's just heading home, and now it seems like it's the saucer's blocking out the stars. They can't see anything except this bright light over the car, and then things get a little warpy and weird. We have no idea what happens to them, but they're driving back home still, and she turns to him. She's like, "Well, now do you believe in flying saucers?" He's like, "Don't be ridiculous." And they get home. They arrive Wednesday at 5:00 in the morning. They don't recall driving the 35 miles between Indian Head and Ashland, or why that stretch took them 2 hours longer than they figured the trip would take. They're calmed. On the page it says they were both calmed by the knowledge that the strange encounter was over. They believed they could return to their ordinary lives. They were wrong, and so the remaining chapters basically talk about how or show how they've contemplated whether or not of going public, of telling other people what they witnessed, what they experienced. Not that they could remember everything that they experienced, but they do know something happened to them, and they get in touch with some groups. They get in touch with the military. They see a hypnotist to see if that can jog their memories, and it does. It's just it was close to fascinating. I couldn't. It's a monochromatic story. It's like not gray tones. It's like blue wash. It's a black and white story with a lot of blue in the background and for emphasis at times. But I really felt bad for him, and it's I felt bad because they tried to explain what they went through. That of course, it's the early mid 60s, and not everybody's really ready to hear this, and it's or at least some of the feedback that they were getting. But they're talking to former U.S. Marine Corps major, and it was Betty's obviously a believer. She's definitely willing to get more information, to get answers, to even if that means them coming back and her offering herself up to get those answers. But yeah, the hypnosis brings some things to light. Their stories differed a little bit because Barney's time on the ship with the aliens was slightly different than Betty. So it's obviously their stories weren't rehearsed because they were separated in the saucer at times, so they wouldn't know what the other was dealing with. But it was just I was quite pleasantly surprised just because I didn't know what to expect. I saw it was Tynion writing it. I saw it was Oeming drawing it. Figured I'd give it a shot. I had no idea about the stories in the back, and some of them, out of the 5, a couple are better than others, but it was mostly the main story that I was here to check out. But I guess on Substack he was posting it a couple years ago, but I think this first issue came out earlier this year, like back in February. But it was just one of those things I tried on a whim, and I was seriously, I was just sucked right in. It very much reminded me to a degree to Sound Invasion, of course, but there's things here that were based in real life and stories others heard or told. But all in all, it was it doesn't exactly have a happy ending, but it was still a hell of a ride. It was quite an entertainment. It's a good read, but I think what also made it unsettling at times was Oeming's art, but unsettling in a good way, in a way that absolutely fit the story. But I would definitely, I don't know if it's going to be collected. I don't know if we're getting more, actually. The Fifth Issue was the last one I saw, but I would recommend it if you can check it out.
You'll probably like the movie then. James Earl Jones is Barney.
No shit.
And Estelle Parsons is Betty. Yeah, it's a TV movie. Made like 74, 75. Yeah. Movie's good.
You and Jason talked about this when it was first coming out, right?
Yeah.
Because you heard this story many times as a UFO kook.
It's in every ground level UFO book ever published, because it's a noteworthy case because the documentation is so robust, and they were an interracial couple in a time when that was not looked upon favorably. So, I mean, there's a lot of noteworthy things, and they got blasted by the media. Well, the media wasn't the media machine it is now, but back then, all they saw was a black man with a white woman, and they were discredited solely on the basis of who they were and like their relationship. So it's like, I don't know. But it is, I mean, if you took a class on ufology 101, the Betty and Barney Hill story would be first day, first semester. And it's that immediately soured me on the book. But I mean, I don't, David enjoyed it. So I don't want to say anything about the book. It is what it is. And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
About the comic or about the book?
About the comic.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But now there are further avenues for you to explore, because you can look up the movie, which is very good. For as good as James Earl Jones is, Estelle Parsons steals the show as Betty. She is amazing in this movie. Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have called it a TV movie. It was, but it doesn't, you would never, if you see it now, you would never think it was a TV movie. The level of performances in the thing are just amazing. Yeah, it's really good. You'll like it. I mean, it's James Earl Jones. What's not to like, right? Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And there's a scene where they're doing the regression, and he just starts bawling like a baby. Like it's amazing, the performances out of these two. Yeah, it's great. Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. I got another one.
Wow. Well, why don't you save it for your travels? Because we're at 2.5 hours.
We wrapping it up? Okay, good.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to this whole thing. We hope you come back next time. Remember, this thing has been sponsored by cheapgraphicnovels.com. You could probably get collected editions of if not now, then when they're published, of everything that we talked about on this show at a fraction of the price you'd pay elsewhere. CheapGraphicNovels.com. As Tony reminded me, remember, once you place your first order or another order, because they don't know. Well, yeah, they do know if they checked it, but whatever. Tell them, respond to that email and say, 11 o'clock comics sent me. And Max will be like, his little magic wand, ding, right in the forehead. And you will be the recipient of an email that says, your next order shipping? Guess what? It's on us, bro. And you'd be like, this is the best thing on the planet. Because you'd be right. CheapGraphicNovels.com. Just go there. Tony will vouch for him, right, Tony?
The best. Max was at Comic-Con with me. That guy rules. One of my favorite people.
Did you dine together?
We did not dine. I actually only saw him briefly, but he was down there. I think he just went down for one day. He used to. He was telling me he used to love like going and like the thrill of the hunt and finding like hardcovers that were out of print, because that's one of the things that the people in the know about CheapGraphicNovels.com is that if you're looking for something that's out of print, oftentimes they'll have it too. And they won't charge you like the 40% off that you usually get. Like you'll pay a little more for them.
Sure.
But they're usually a place that can find stuff that's out of print, or they were. And now that cheap graphic novel business is rolling up and running so fast, Max was telling me he doesn't have the same love of the hunt that he once had for getting out there at Comic-Con and finding, some foolish dealer that's getting rid of some Marvel book that's been out of print for 5 years or something.
Right. He's a smart man, that Max.
He is. He keeps it all in his head, man. He knows all of that stuff. I'll just text him and be like, hey, I'm trying to get this She-Hulk, whatever. And he'll be like, oh, it's been out of print since 2017. Somehow he just knows.
It's true, because when I said, hey, I'm thinking of picking up the Stegman, Cates, Venom, Carnage stuff, King in Black, and he's like, oh, we got plenty of stock on that. He goes, I'll let you know when we're running low if you want to just put it on the back burner. It's like, all right, yeah, that's cool, because I don't need it right now. I want it, but there are other things that I would like to pick up before that. But it's still on my radar. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell you when it's getting close to the time you should order. I'm like, okay. Because I wanted to order the ROM thing. You know what I mean? Preference. Priority is what I should say. In your travels, my people, I want you to go out and buy Tombs, Tombs, by Junji Ito. It is another in a long series of anthologies. I can't even hazard to guess how many hours a day Junji Ito spends behind the drawing board, or if all of this stuff coming out from Viz is just backlog, that stuff that's been printed in Japan, years ago, and now we're just catching up to them. But it seems like there's a lot of Junji Ito books, and they're all like 300, 400 pages. Like the volume of work this man has produced is ridiculous. That's just number one. Number two, the quality of the work is disturbingly consistent. He almost never stumbles. And this anthology, he loves that format. This anthology is more of the same level of quality we've received from Ito in all of the many past volumes. Like I said, anthology, so I'm not going to get into every story. The main story, the story after which the volume is named, Tombs, is ridiculous. It is one of the more disturbing Ito stories, without being explicit, because it focuses on death, something with which we can all understand, right? In a nutshell, it's about a brother and sister who go out to the country to visit a friend of the sister. And while they're driving out, they hit a young girl with their car. They hit her with their car that was in the road, and the girl's in really bad shape. So they put the girl in the back seat, and they plan to take her to the emergency. She's dying. Problem is, she dies. So they load the girl in the back in the trunk of the car. And then they go to the sister's friend's house, and they make like nothing happened. But when they get to this town at which her friend lives, there's all of these monuments, pylons really, in the middle of the road. And so they're obstructing, you can't drive down the road. And the brother's like, what the hell is this? Like, this is odd. This is really strange. So turns out, I mean, the friend describes the whole cosmology of this little town. When members of this town die, their corpses decay into these monuments. These monuments grow out of their corpses, to the point where emergency rooms and hospitals, when a patient is near death, they got to drag them out into the parking lot or the road, because if they die within the hospital or the emergency room, a monument will form. And you can't touch a dead body. So they have to get the bodies out of these places before they die. And if you look in little houses or little apartment houses where people have died and they didn't get the bodies out, there are these stone monuments within, like, the middle of a living room. There'll be a stone, like someone died there. It's the strangest thing. Turns out, I won't reveal the end of the story, but I will reveal the twist, because that's not the end. While they're at the friend's house, her younger sister has gone missing. They don't know where she is. She was out playing. She didn't come home. Next day, they send search party out of which the brother and sister contribute. They're looking for the girl. And then the brother's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe that was who we hit. Maybe that's your friend's sister. And when they hit her, her face was all swollen. So they couldn't, if they did know her, they would never have recognized her, because her face was all puffy and swollen and bloody and stuff. And the sister's like, wait a minute, I don't know. And so because they couldn't take the body out of the car starts getting heavier. It is devious. It's ridiculous. The ending is so fucked up. Like, I don't want to give you guys any clues as to what happens in the ending. It is just like, this is a one of those stories that can only come out of creative rumination. Like, Ito was probably thinking, what if somebody died and their corpse made a pseudo gravestone? Because in Japan, gravestones are more vertical than horizontal. Like in the States, ours are just horizontal-ish and, rounded top. These are more pylon-ish, with a little tiny base. And you see some corpses that have recently died, and you could see the thing emerging from the body. It is disturbing on many levels, because we all have to face, we got to face this thing at some point in our existences. That's going to come calling. So you can approximate what these characters are feeling. Not only that, but the guilt knowing that you killed the girl that everybody's looking for. What do you do with the body? Well, read this story and you'll find out what they do with the body. It is really messed up, like ridiculous. And, like many Junji Ito stories, there's no ray of sunshine at the end of this thing. Everything has a bleak downturn. It's just wow. I don't even think there's a sun in the Junji Ito universe. Yeah, it's and it only, I mean, it goes places for there. It's an anthology. There's many stories. There's a girl with a slug for a tongue. And he can take a really strange idea and build a whole story around it, to the point where you're just like, wow, this mother's brilliant. Like, it is the places the story goes. Like, I can't. Ito's one of the guys that I just cannot predict, because he's so outlandish, so off the wall, and just on a completely different level than most other creators, both, domestic and foreign. Like, I just think Ito is just a really, really special creator. And this book is just more evidence to that claim. It's called Tombs. It's from Viz, of course, hardcover, just like all the other ones. $25, lots of pages, well worth your time. If you enjoy sleeping or fitful sleep, this is going to disturb that. Because it is, wow, it's dark, really dark. Tombs, love it. And I'm not even current on the Ito. I got 2 of these within the space of a week, so I have another one to talk about. I think it's Soichi is the latest. And then if you look in this previews, Ito has not 1 but 2 books solicited. So, like, is this all he does? Is make comics? Right. Even if you have an assistant.
I think it's got to be a backlog situation.
I think it is, but still, he had to have produced this work at some point in his life. Did he spend his entire formative years into early adulthood making comics? Like, this is a lot of pages.
Well, yes, he definitely spent his formative years making comics.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. All of it great, too.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
You like Ito?
I do like Junji Ito. I've read. I feel like I've only scratched the surface. I've probably only read like 3 or 4 of them, but I have a big stack of unread ones as well.
Oh, so you keep buying them?
I do.
That's good.
I'm not current. I got to the point where I had like 4 of them stacked up that I hadn't read yet, and I was like, all right, I'll catch up later with the newer ones. So I don't have Tombs yet.
Nice. And then you got Soichi is after Tombs.
To look forward to.
Nice.
Yeah, that was spooky. In your travels, I am going to be really quick because I'm not going to. I'm just really glad. Well, it's bittersweet. We got the 6th issue of Black Cloak by Kelly Thompson, Meredith McLaren, and Becca Carey, and it's been a hell of a whodunit, and in this wonderful magical world. The first arc is over, and we'll get the cull in the meantime before we come back to Black Cloak. And by all means, pick up the first issue of the cull because it's gorgeous and it's got a hell of a hook. But yeah, Black Cloak. I'm not spoiling anything tonight, but I just, now that it's out, and I do believe the first volume is in previews, so you can get it if you weren't getting the singles. But yeah, in your travels, without a doubt, I'm not. We've already discussed various parts of previous issues. I'm not going to give anything away with this with the last chapter of this first arc, but you need to be reading Black Cloak. That is literally all I'm going to say tonight. In your travels, read Black Cloak.
It's wonderful. Cosign.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Tony?
Trade comes out in September. That's a 3-way. All 3 of us co-sign that.
Excellent. Love to hear it.
Hold on a second. Baxter's going crazy. Let me grab him before I end my travel. Vamp for 1 second.
Okay, we'll vamp. I did read The Cull, #1.
What'd you think?
Not for me.
Well, the art.
Yeah, the art's nah. It's. I mean, I can't say that it's not accomplished.
Oh yeah, no, by all means,
it's very well done. It's just way
nice.
too realistic
100%
for me. Yeah. See, the thing that got me was in the preview they had the double page spread where the thing is, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. I like this, but
then you turn the page and
there's a lot of
extremely realistic looking people.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking heads, and
it is,
but extremely detailed talking heads. It's just that the art veered too much into realism for me. Not saying it's bad. It's just my radio's not tuned to that dial or to that station. So yeah.
And for me, I don't. The art by itself isn't something that would make me necessarily check the book out, but the preview pages in the previous issue of Black Cloak were neat, and then we got the preview and being introduced to the characters and the whole the not quite really sure what obviously she's looking for her brother, but I got to find out what happened. So it's Kelly's story primarily.
Yeah.
The art doesn't bother me at all, but if it wasn't Kelly or if it wasn't a story like this, the art by itself probably wouldn't get me to keep checking it out.
Right.
She said they got together on Jessica Jones books, which I have not read yet. Did you read those?
I did not. I don't know if Jason did.
I've got them. I just haven't. Those were one of the ones I picked up during the pandemic. I did like a real Kelly Thompson deep dive during COVID.
Nice, yeah.
Filled in a lot of the gap stuff that I didn't have. Yeah, she's the best. She's really good at her job. That's for sure. In your travels, this is keeping in the conceptual continuity. When we were researching Local Man Gold, I went and did like a deep dive on all my Image Comics crossovers. Like I said, a couple years ago, me and Vince and Jason, or not Jason, David, you read along too on Deathmate, right?
Well, you guys drove the bus on that. Yeah, it was you two.
Oh, and then Vince was just mad at the end when I said that the Valiant ones looked like they were old people.
Yeah. I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad. I was just like, how dare you?
Wasn't mad, just disappointed.
So I went back and I took a look at the uncompleted Image United, and there's another one called Shattered Image that I read through, which is written by Kurt Busiek and Barbara Kiesel, and has art by a bunch of different people, but the first and last issues are by Tony Daniel in like his Spawn period where he was doing like wacky fun Spawn stuff. What the fuck is that noise?
No idea, dude.
I have Do Not Disturb on, so it definitely should not be me. I don't know what that is. Anyway, there was one Image crossover that I hadn't read because it came out in 1998 when I was at college and sort of in like my one dark period where I've been filling in gaps. And this one is crazy. And if you're in the dollar bins and you come across it, I can't recommend anything higher. It's called Altered Image. It's by Jim Valentino. Do either of you have experience with this? Do you know this thing?
I've heard of it. I don't. You'll have to talk about it to see if I remember reading it.
It is a real product of its time. When you see it, you're like, yeah, that definitely came out in 1998. It's Jim Valentino artwork, but the logo in Altered Image is one of those ones where it's like a different letter from a bunch of different logos. So like the A is the A from Spawn, and then the D is the D from Shadowhawk, and the R is the R from Savage Dragon. So like it's like sort of looks like a ransom note. But it's a team that consists of Spawn, Witchblade, Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk, Majestic, and the Max. So it's like right before Wildstorm leaves the next year, and obviously after Extreme left. And so it's like this big hullabaloo happens, and all these Image heroes have to get together because the world keeps getting twisted and contorted, and they're getting like amalgamated into each other. And so they have all kinds of cool like Image, like the same way they did in Deathmate, and that we paid tribute to in our book, where you're sort of like crashing together an Image character and a Valiant character. In this one, they're just crashing together Image characters, and so like you'll get like Shadowhawk with Spawn, like Shadow Spawn, or like the Max is crashed together with Super Patriot or the Savage Dragon, or just like they just keep getting like mixed together and mixed up. And it plays real close to like Jim Valentino's Shadowhawk mythos, and also Jim Valentino never let go of the 1963 stuff. Like that shit just happened in Jim Valentino's world because they keep dipping into like this 1963 like Alterna space where it's like this Alan Moore space outside of time area that they keep like crashing through. But it's super fun, and they do this thing in the first issue and in Wizard magazine where they had a contest where people could send in drawings of their mashed together Image characters, and it's only a 3-issue thing, but before the thing came out, they ran the contest, and then in the second issue, they announced the winners, and then in the third issue, they drew the winner into the book, and the character that won, they printed all the contest winners in issue 2, and the big winner was a cross between Mother One from Wetworks and Mighty Man from Savage Dragon, and it's called One Mighty Mother by Kevin Metz of Springfield, Missouri. And they won original art from the book, and the character would appear in the book, and super fun stuff.
Yeah, I got them right here. I had them digitally.
They're rad looking, right? Like
yeah, really neat.
And then Valentino starts to do cool stuff when they start to switch worlds and stuff, where he'll do like an animated style or like a more rendered style. It's cool. Like it's real cool dollar bin stuff. Oh, and also they end up going to like medieval Spawn world, and they're fighting dragons, and then there's like a medieval Shadowhawk and a medieval Majestic and a witch. You know, like it's like super inventive and fun, but also super 1998. But it's great.
Wow, you could tell this was inked by Andrew Peepoy.
I don't know. Look who it says the inker is on the credits page. Alp Altiner. I don't know who that is.
That sounds like a pen name.
What?
Right?
Because I got the credits page on volume on the first issue says Jim Valentino, writer, artist, logo design. Andrew Peepoy, inks 1 to 4, 13, 15. Then Alp Altiner. You're right.
He takes over on 2 and 3 for the full thing, and then there's Brad Foster.
That's not a name,
right?
Yeah,
it's not a name.
It's like an anagram or some shit.
Yeah.
No, it looks cool though. Looks real cool.
Yeah. Definitely, like I said, it's a quarter bin book or a dollar bin book. If you find it, grab it. You won't be disappointed, or you will be, and it'll just have been $1. So, if you come find me,
75 cents, right?
Sure.
Yeah. No, but the thing smacks of 90s coloring.
Hello?
I'm here.
Good Lord.
I don't know what's happening.
We love you so much.
Oh, look at Witchblade. Wow. Woo. That is nasty. Yeah, it's nasty. It's really cool.
And the covers are cool. Like, Eric Larson inks some of the covers, and Valentino does the most of the artwork. First issue cover and the back cover of the second issue. It just seems like a bunch of people, throwing in and having fun with this thing.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to have to read this.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about it the next time you come on.
Look, I would I would love to nothing more than just sit around and talk about Altered Image and Shattered Image and Deathmate and which one of these. I'm really in the zone right now. Which one of these is the best Image Comics crossover?
Well, you say the word, and we'll talk about it.
Hedgehog one, we got to read that. That deserves consideration.
Sure.
That's one I don't have. Do you have that one?
Probably digitally. Yeah, I don't. I know I don't have the physical issues of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining us. Thanks to our brother Tony for being here with us, because it's always fun when Tony Noboloni shows up.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a month and a half, 2 months, and he'll be back.
I'm happy to come back whenever you like.
We should have you back when Jason is even on. That'll be a trip, because he almost never gets to talk to you because
it's true.
Yeah. All right. You know the drill. Get yourself to a comic shop, buy some comics, read them, talk about them, hug your loved ones, squeeze your pets, not too hard, eat some good food, and come back next time because we love you so much. In the meantime, say good night. You know what this is, don't you? It's Pee-wee's Playhouse. David.
Damn.
Ooh.
Good night.
When did you decide you were going to start playing football? I remember you used to be terrified that you were, shut down, demonetized, or whatever.
Well, it's little snippets at the end. It's fun. It's fun. If they're going to get me for little clips at the end, whatever.
And what a loving tribute. Anyway.
Yes. I was like, should I use this Kiss one? Because Gene's pretty militant about that shit.
David.
Nice. Yeah. And but I had to use it because the reason why I used Love It Loud was because Matthew Allison loves Kiss. So I did that to just put a little spring in Matthew Allison's step. But otherwise, I just pick stuff randomly. But this one, not so much because we lost Pee-wee.
Yeah.
This past week. Yeah, it sucks. Did you see the video he made for Cassandra Peterson, Elvira? Yeah, it was her birthday, and he took the time to make her a video and, just send it to her as a happy birthday thing. And if he's lying, he's a really good actor. Because he's just like, I love you so much. I've always loved you. I think you're smart and hilarious and loving. And like, he went on a list. And he busted her balls. Like, what with you being 80? She was 70 at the time. But I mean, it's really touching. And she put that up on her socials. And it's just, if you have the time, go to Cassandra Peterson's socials and look at that. Click on that Pee-wee video and watch it. It's just amazing. But they say, my point, buried in all this, is a lot of celebrities claim that's just how Pee-wee was. Or Paul, let's say Paul, because that was his name. That's just how Paul was. Like if he was your friend, you knew it. He would pay attention to you and devote time to you and just basically tell you, hey, thanks for being my friend. I appreciate this relationship. So yeah, it sucks, but yeah, a huge impact on me. Anyway, I don't think I would have discovered Gary Panter as easily as I had if not for Pee-wee, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
I think about that. The last time that he super made me laugh was when he was on 30 Rock when he played that Prince.
Yeah. It was his 25th birthday, and she's 25. Whoa. Yeah. He's great in Mystery Men.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah, everybody's great in that.
Yep. All right, everybody. David nailed it, and you go nail it, and you tell them that you love them so much.
No, we love you so much.
Yeah. James. See, it's easier to get it out of you than it is of Jason.
I got too much love in my heart.
You do have a lot of love.
It's true.
Yeah. Right here.
That's it for that one.